let's look at this little chart first, okay? Because this is what really applies to you on an ongoing basis, and it's really hard to kind of ferret it out of the law. It's all over the place. But what is new that has just passed this year is we now have to be fingerprinted. This is the first time that that's been like that. And it wasn't the Board of Massage that decided that, it was the Florida legislature. So anyone who has got any kind of licensing that deals with the public or anything like that, you don't have to be fingerprinted. So you can do it when you get your license. Everyone who is already licensed, like me, we don't have until the renewal period, which is August 31st, every odd numbered year. We have to do this by the 31st of this month. And it's also for people who own a spa or own an establishment. So if you're doing massage on your facilities, if you're a doctor, a chiropractor, rehab facility, it really doesn't matter. It could already be a salon, you could already have a cosmetology license, but if you're going to add massage to what you're doing, you have to get this other license as well. It's called an establishment license. And they've gone back and forth with this. You know, there for a while, doctors didn't have to get a license, but now it's pretty much no matter what. If someone is doing massage on the premises, they have to have the establishment license as well. So whoever the owner is has to get fingerprinted. And you don't have to be a massage therapist to own a spa, right? You can be anybody and own a spa. But the reason all this is happening now is because of human trafficking and illegal immigrants. So they're trying to kind of keep track of what's going on with that. And you have to do it at a certain place. It's not just anywhere. They have their own little agency that you have to go to. So always check and make sure before you go spend $90 that they're gonna want you to do it there, right? And then there's all these rules now about if there is something in your past, if you did do something before, it may not preclude you from having your license. It's just all according to what it was for and how old it was. There's a thing now where I think if it's over 13 years old, they really can't hold it against you unless it had something to do with sex. You were a child abuser, you were a pedophile, you were a prostitute, whatever. That doesn't come off, and they won't let you have a license if they find that. Okay? And some people in our profession are kind of upset. They think we're getting really intrusive, the government is, but I think it's not a bad idea to know just who it is that's running these companies down here, these spas, right? And who's out there doing massage, because private schools don't ask for anything. You don't even have to learn, you don't have to read and write. You pay them your money, you can show up. And they could have had like 5 different felonies against them, and they're still in the school. So now they're not going to be able to get away with that. So that is a new law. Now right under it you see $5. The state tax on $5 for everything, and that's to pay for unlicensed activity. Unlicensed activity. So a lot of people, especially when they do out calls, if you have people that come to your house, most people don't say, show me your license. They get your name, you come out, and they just assume that you are who you say you are. They don't ask to see it. Now, legally, are you supposed to have it and show it to them? Yes, you are. When you get your license, they're going to give you a big one and a wallet-sized one. And you have to put your picture on the big one, just like when you go get your hair done or your nails, it's on the mirror there, right? Well, we have to do the same thing. So if you work somewhere like a spa or something like that, it has to be in there. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be displayed on the wall, but it has to be available so that if anyone asks, you can show it to them. So if you're going out somewhere and you're not in a spa or in a rehab, you're not in a building, you're going to someone's house, you are supposed to carry your wallet license with you and identify yourself when you get there and let them know, okay? Now, I'm wondering about how much money they've got by now in their little $5 fund. Yeah, if everybody's giving them $5 for everything, I would imagine they got quite a bit of money in there. And when you think about, they're not the ones who do undercover investigations anyway to see what's going on somewhere. That's the sheriff. So they're not having to pay for that. So what is all this money for? I don't, legal fees? I don't know, but it's a lot of money. Anyway, now if you're going to become a massage therapist, your application and initial licensure is $150 plus five, okay? Now, if something happens, you can get all of that money back but the $50. Just remember, applications fees, you don't ever get a refund on those, okay? Now, an endorsement is for someone who is licensed somewhere else. Say you worked in Washington State, and you're licensed in Washington State. You can apply to the board here and get a Florida license. And they have to, it's called reciprocity between the two states. So it's not with everyone. It's only if their license is very similar to ours. So it has to have the same number of hours of education and all that kind of stuff. And then you just pay a fee, like $35, and you get your license. Otherwise, they're going to look at where you were, look at what is required there as compared to what is required here, and they may say, well, you have to go back to school, you didn't have any hydrotherapy, you didn't have enough anatomy or whatever's going on to make up that difference, and then you can apply. And that, again, that is changing now, too. And they're kind of trying to make people say, well, if you took that test, which is supposed to be a national test, that means you know the basic education everybody should know, no matter where you were from. And they may start just taking that. So say I worked somewhere else for 10 years. Their education wasn't the same as Florida's, but you've had that national certification for 10 years. And that's something that they're kind of probably is going to happen, really soon. Now, some states have a lot higher requirements than we do. In the state of New York, it's 1,200 hours. So they're pretty overqualified, right? If you're an apprentice, that means you are working somewhere with someone who is training you. Now, only one trainee can be with one therapist, so they can't start their own little school. But you have a friend or somebody, and you want to work with them. They've made it very, very hard to do it that way, though. Very, very hard. It'll take you 2 years, 3 times the amount of anatomy. They don't want you to do it that way, but and hopefully the person you're working with isn't charging you by the hour, because it could get pretty expensive. And then they have certain rules about that. Not just anybody and not just anywhere could be someone who has an apprentice, right? Kind of a. Now, colonics, anybody know what that is? Yes. What is colonics? Only a massage therapist can do this. We're the only ones who can be licensed to do this. Really? And what you're doing is you're cleansing the large intestine. Right. Put a little hose up the butt, fill them up with water, do a massage on their stomach, and flush it out. Yeah, it's an enema, but it's a lot more effective than an enema. An enema only goes into the rectum. This can flush all the way back to where it starts, right, where it meets the small intestine. So it's very thorough. And it's really good for a lot of different conditions, a lot of different problems. If you go in for any kind of testing these days, and they use that radiology stuff, that radium and barium and all that stuff, and you know what really makes you feel sick is it's in your digestive system for days, afterwards. It's terrible. But, and what they used to do is this. They didn't give you all those drugs. They would clean you out, take the pictures, and that's it, Now they dissolve everything inside your body and leave all that chemicals in you. So if you had to do it and the doctor made you take those chemicals, I would recommend you go and have all that flushed out immediately, right? Get it out of there. Still not working.
I do it.
I'm waiting on a ladder.
Oh dear. Okay. All righty. I have no idea how old the bulb is. Probably the original bulb. Who knows?
It might not be the bulb. It might be static.
You know, the computer does all the time, and I did have to discharge it to get that to come on.
Okay.
So I don't know. Might be that. Anyway, now you can't just go anywhere and study this. It's not part of curriculums in schools. There's only one or two places where you can go. Now, the school right up the end of the street, the what's it called, American Institute. When they were in downtown, was that Deerfield?
It was in Pompano.
Pompano. Yeah, when it was there, the woman that owned the school originally, she did colonics, and she taught it there as part of her curriculum. But she has since passed away, and they've moved the school, so I don't know if they still teach it there or not. They might, but I don't know if they do or not. But now that is one thing you definitely would have to do as an apprentice somewhere. There's lots of little clinics that do colonics, right? And you could go out and see if someone would let you work with them. It's not near as many hours as massage. It's only like 100 hours. So, and that's how I did it. I worked at somebody's clinic to study this. I was going to be a part of a naturopathic doctor's clinic in the Caribbean on the island of Nevis. And I do lymph drainage. And believe it or not, if they have a lot of edema, a lot of toxins in the body, colonics is great. Because your large intestine is all about water balance. That's its job, right? So he paid for me to do all this and get all this training and to come down there. And it was like right when everything was going to come together. They were part of the United Kingdom. And then they decided they want to be independent. So they had their own government. And when that all became independent, they said, well, if you want to come and work on this island, it's only because you could not hire anyone else that's a native to do that job. They become very restrictive with their immigration because they didn't want the island to be overrun by people, and then the people that live there not having a job. So he still has his clinic, but he just wasn't able to, and that's what we were going to do too. It's like on hundreds of people just moving. But his clinic is still there and he still does it, but nothing like he was going to. And I think what he's going to do right now is he's has been working with a hospital in Quito. Is that how you say it?
Quito, yeah.
Ecuador. And I think that's where he'll keep his clinic there, but the main thing he's going to do is move there. And they wouldn't have the restrictions the same as where it is now. But that was the only reason I got into this. Trust me, I would not want to do this on my own. It's not something I'd want to do.
But pay better than massage?
Well, it's all according,
Yeah.
to where you're at. Most places it's like $40, $50. And it's only maybe 25, 30 minutes of treatment,
Depends on where you go and how bad you are.
Yeah, it has a lot to do with what they have to do for you. Something simple, maybe just one or two treatments, and that's it, and it wouldn't have to get all complicated. But
I go every 3 months to have that done, and literally she can start, and I watch the thing. First time I didn't watch. I was like, no, and then I was like, no, I want to watch. So
Is it a wild?
no, it just feels like it's an unnatural feeling because you feel like you have to go to the bathroom and you're not in the bathroom.
Yeah.
But you have to get over that because you're all hooked up, so you're good. But so after the first time I started to watch, and then like nothing is clear, and she's like, and all of a sudden, well, I was like, yeah.
well, people who have IBS,
That's right.
There's really no cure for IBS, and they really don't even know what the reason is for you having it. It's some nervous system muscular disability, and a lot of times this is the only thing that's going to help.
Oh, it's
They give you this drug, they give you that drug, they really don't help. And your bowel movements are all over the place. You're constipated, you have diarrhea, it's very painful, a lot of cramping. And when it gets like that, you need to just go flush it out. And then it stops the cramping. Got something to do with being able to pass gas. Your digestive system just starts spasming. And my son has it, I know. And a lot of times the other part, he had diverticulitis for a while, inflammation. And I had him coming up there and, working on him at least once a week there for a while. And every now and then when it flares up and it gets really bad, that's what I do for him. Now that may gross you out thinking of moms, but it's a help thing that you're doing for someone. And they're covered, and it's a whole different thing than what you think. But believe me, when you're that much pain, you don't care. You just want somebody to help you. So I do that for him. I still do it.
You mentioned the lavage goes as far as where the large intestine meets the small intestine. Is there a valve right there to stop going further?
Called the ileocecal valve.
Okay. I go to a clinic on Wiles from 441. I'm trying to think of the name of the clinic. Charge like $100 for an hour though. Is that good?
Well, I was 50 for 30.
Yeah.
If they got you on, that's a lot of water.
Yeah.
There's a one down in South Beach, it's really good, and it's the same thing, but it depends on the person, like how packed up you are, how clean you are, it really.
Yeah. So a lot of these places, that's kind of what they do. It's just a little clinic for that kind of work. Now, there's a place in South Beach called the Russian Bathhouse. It's in, what is that?
It's in like Sunny.
That white, big white column on Collins Ave. I can't ever remember the name of the hotel. But they have people that do colonics there. Because it's more of a health spa than, a fancy spa kind of thing. It's for health reasons that you're there. And that's about the only place I know of where it's part of another service thing. So it's not real common. Just a few places here and there. Now, you take a test for this that the state of Florida administers. It's nothing that anyone else does because we're the only state that even licenses you, lets you do it. And then you have to, if you don't pass it, you got to go back. It's $150, and they don't give you a break on the price to repeat something. You've got to pay the whole price again. And you have to go up to Orlando to do it, and they only do it certain times a year. So it's not like your license that you can just go whenever and get it. It's pretty organized. And they don't have that many, so it's not a really big thing. Now, I know in South America it is a little more common, and that it's more accepted, and there's more people that do it there. And there is some kind of association they have, an international association, and they kind of keep up, there's a science and a health to it. There's reasons for this.
I wish it was covered.
I do too. But places where naturopathic medicine is accepted and the more preventative care is part of everyone's healthcare system, it's a different story. But here maybe one day, but we're all about drugs and surgery. That's what we're all about. All right, so that was something that you'd have to pay. Now, an apprentice, now this is just to apply to get your license. If you're an apprentice, it's going to cost you $200. It's a little more than massage if you went to a school. If you have an establishment, that means anybody who owns a business where massage is being done. It could be a beauty salon, it could be a spa, it could be a doctor's office. It doesn't matter. If somebody is there doing massage, they have to have an establishment license. $125 plus 5, right? Plus 5. If you want to change the name of your place, you're not moving or anything. It was under the Palms before. Now you want it to be something else. You just have to apply and pay them $25. But if you want to move, you've got to have them come out and re-inspect the whole thing. So that's a little more involved. And that's $150. Now, the ownership of these places, you cannot let your son inherit it when you die. It can't pass to anyone else. You can't sell it to anyone else. You can sell your business, but the license, the establishment license, is only given to one person, and that's it. So if I buy your spa, I've got to apply and get my own establishment license. Now, we renew every 2 years, and it's every odd-numbered year. And they, believe it or not, they actually have come down on the price. It used to be more than $100. That's really weird, but they went down. But we're kind of still high. A lot of the other professions, they're $45, $50. It's a little high for what we do. Now, if you forget and you didn't renew on time, you are delinquent, and they're going to charge you for that, for being delinquent. Yeah. So you got to pay that delinquency fee. You got to pay your renewal fee. It's a lot of money, so try not to forget.
I don't think daycare will be late.
Yeah, no, of course not. Of course not. Now, you may not be wanting to practice, but you don't want to give your license up, so you can renew it as something called inactive. You still keep it, but maybe you're semi-retired. Maybe you're going to take a trip or something and you're not going to be here for a while, but you may want to go back to it. So rather than just giving it up, you just put it on an inactive status and you can keep it.
How long is that?
I think it's still just 2 renewal periods. So now it can be a retired license status at the time of license renewal, and that would be $50. You can retire it in the middle of the cycle and not wait to the end, and it's $100. Now, and here's another thing. I'm inactive. I want to go back to active. They're going to add insult to injury. I got to pay, and then I have to pay $50 too, just because I changed my mind. Anyway. Yeah, plus 5.
If you're gonna do the work, keep it active.
Yeah, and if I want to, let it go, retire it, I got to pay $50. How can they charge me for not wanting my license anymore? Who got away with doing that? Now, if you lose it and you need to get another one, you can write to them and get a copy, but they want $25 to give you a copy. Now, yeah, we have to keep our education up. And this is why I'm not going to give you a test and say you've got to remember the law, because every 2 years you have to take another class in the law. So, but think about it. It's 24 hours for every 2 years. So they're just asking you to study for 1 hour every month, which is nothing, right? That's not a whole lot. But that is something that's required, or you won't be able to renew your license.
Probably because so much changes.
Well,
I mean,
yeah, the law does change, and that's why you have to keep up with it. But they want you to study ethics. They want you to study law. Medical errors, okay? Only 2 hours, that's all. Now, you used to have to do an HIV course, too, every 2 years, but now they did away with that, so you don't have to do the HIV course every 2 years. It was only an hour, but they still wanted you to kind of keep up with that. Now, it's still part of your curriculum. You still have to do 3 hours of that, but you don't have to keep renewing that. If you wanted to become a provider of courses, that also takes a license through them, and they have to approve of what you're teaching. It's $250, but say you started out with one course, and then you wanted to add other courses to it. You don't have to keep buying provider license numbers. There won't be an individual one for every course you're teaching. There will be one for you, and then whatever else you add to it, it'll only be $250. It won't go up. So a lot of these places, it's a really big company, Integrative Health Services, and they'll send a little booklet out to you, and they'll have like 20 different courses you can choose to take. One guy's got them where you could go on a cruise and do your courses. Another company, you can go to Costa Rica. They have a little yoga camp down there where you can do your classes. Now, that's all tax deductible. Anything to keep your education up that you need to do for your licensing, that's a tax deduction.
How many continuing education hours do you need a year? Is there a requirement?
Well, I just told you.
Well, other than the law and ethics.
No. Well, yeah, there are. You have to have 24
Okay.
every 2 years.
Oh, okay.
Those you have to have, but then you can pick what you want to,
Yeah. So that's why people.
Yeah, you have to do 12 hours where you're in somewhere with someone teaching you,
Yeah.
some type of hands-on work.
Okay.
And then the other, maybe you want to study a little psychology, maybe a little neurolinguistic programming so you'll know how to sell. You can do that too. You could take a class on pathologies and maybe drugs and how drugs interact with massage. But so part of it has to be hands-on training.
Okay.
Hands-on training. Now, for a long time, you could just do everything through the mail. You could go online, take anything that you wanted. Then they said, well, it's supposed to be people touching, so maybe we should make them touch. Just a little bit. Yay! What was it?
It was static.
Oh,
Yeah, that's what it was.
okay, thank you so much. I appreciate your coming over.
Sandra, what is a biennial license? Right underneath massage therapist establishment fees for renewal, the first line. What kind of a license is that?
Wait a minute, what?
Every 2 years, you have to read it.
This one here? Are we looking at different?
All right, the first line tells you, as an establishment, okay, the fees for renewal, that $100. Up at the top, it's the initial, the first time. All right, you just got out of school, you get your license for the first time. And then 2 years later, you have to renew it, and that's what that is. So after the first one, the one that's a renewal of a license you already have, that's $100. Okay, that's $100. It's $100 if you have the license, but it's inactive. If it's inactive, okay? But then if you want to bring it back after it was inactive, it's going to cost you $200 on top of your license fee.
I have a question then.
So don't go on inactive. What can I tell you? Just don't go inactive.
My question to that would be, if it's the same to have it new as inactive as active, why wouldn't you just keep it active?
Because you wouldn't have to do the CEUs.
Okay, go.
But then when you want to go back active, they're going to make you do the CEUs.
Okay,
So
so just do it.
just don't let it go.
Right.
Because, no matter where you are in the country, you can take classes. I mean, somebody's going to be teaching something somewhere, right? And all the little ones that are required, believe me, wait till you get your license. They've got them in booklet form. They've got all, you can go online and do it. And everybody's going to be sending you ads saying, take it with me, take it with me. And the prices come way down, way down. So when you look at the cost, and the only reason you'd go inactive is because you're thinking somewhere down the line, I might want to do this again, right? Just don't go inactive. Just keep it up, save the money. And you don't have to live here, to do it. Just keep it. Just keep it. So you got a $100 delinquent fee. You got a $50 status change fee. You got a $100 renewal fee. If you go delinquent, that's another $200. Plus 5, plus 5, plus 5, plus 5. Yeah. So I would recommend, if you think you're ever going to do this again, just keep it. Just keep it. So if I want to put on classes, that's $250. And then that has to be renewed too. That has to be renewed. And it's the same price. Now, on this list, I need to change this because what has just recently happened is the Board of Massage has decided that this company called, a company called the National Certification Board for Therapeutic Massage and Body Work. In the beginning, they were the only one who had any kind of national exam. So they had a monopoly. And what happens when people have monopolies is they do everything they can to cheat you, and they raise the price because they can get away with it because there's nobody else out there doing it. And their pass rate was dismal. It really wasn't suited for people graduating out of school. It really was for people who'd been working for 2 or 3 years and had other courses they'd taken. So of course they were failing right and left, and then you had to pay the same price to take it again. So they would prefer you not pass it the first time, right? That was a good thing. That was a good thing. So a lot of the schools complained, the people taking the test complained, and finally the board said, well, this really is not the right way to go. So across the country, all the boards for all the different states, those people got together and said, we really need to standardize this education. People should be able to expect the same type of education and massage no matter what state they're in. Kind of like nursing, kind of like all the other therapies, right? They have a standard education, a goal that everybody has to comply with. We don't. One state may not even have a licensing requirement. One state it may be 35 hours, another 100. $50 and all the way up to $1,200. So, you know, you move from state to state, you don't know what kind of massage you're going to get because nobody knows. There's no standardizing it. So what the boards are trying to do by working together is they're trying to do that. They're trying to make a standard that everyone across the country would do. These many hours, this subject, and that license you get would work wherever you are. Now, if I wanted, say I have a snowbird I want to work with, and I work down here and I work in New York, I have to go up to New York and meet their standards and get their license. I can't just go up there and work on my client. I have to, you know, be in compliance. And I would have to go back to school and do quite a bit more training. And then they have their own exam, and it's really tough. It's really tough.
And then once you do that, then you have to pay the $200 to them every 2 years.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
Every 2 years.
So there's no,
It's a
there's
money
no
game.
national certification, and it's all state by state, basically, and there's,
There is a national test. There's a national exam.
okay.
That is national, because almost everybody, we all use the same one. But as far as the education goes, no, there's not.
So the techniques are different?
Yeah, and now that all the boards are working together as one group, a federation, we're hoping that's what's going to happen.
So is there going to be any kind of, for example, like we're in a class that we'll graduate and, you know, apply for our license. Once the board comes up with a standard, do you get a waiver of, you know, if you've already been licensed or not? You kind of have to.
There's a couple of rules, like I just said. If the board says it's equal, or you know the standards are the same, or maybe theirs is higher, they'll take it.
Okay.
But it won't apply to everyone. It's on a case-by-case basis.
Okay.
But right now, the way it is everyone has to take a state board exam.
Okay.
Before, it was run by the state of Florida. Like when I got licensed, they only did them 3 times a year, and you had to go to Orlando and stay 3 days to do your board. You had to give a massage. You had to do a written massage, and it took 3 or 4 months to find out if you were able to get your license or not. I mean, it was a very long, drawn-out process. Now, you graduate. You don't have to graduate to take your test. Okay? You apply, and within days you'll know if you, only because you didn't fill out something right? They'll send it back to you to get, and then within a couple of days you can decide where you want to take it. And they're in these testing centers that are open 5 days a week, all day long, all over the place. So it's kind of, you know, you can do it as quickly as you'd like now. There's no waiting. And before you leave the room, they'll tell you if you passed or not. You get your score right then. Yeah. But now, if you don't pass it, you have to take it again. There's no break on the price. There's not, you didn't do good with the law or the ethics, and that's all you have to take. You know, before it was. I mean, it was broken down. If you didn't pass it was like $30 to go redo that one section. The whole test was $85. But it's not like that now. And then as soon as you get that and you see that you pass, then you can apply to the state. So there's going to be 2 things you have to do when you graduate. One is take the exam and then apply for your license. Now, you may want to move and go somewhere else, but go ahead and take the test because that test is recognized all over the country.
Is it that the board is able to look at your test and pass that, or you have to send proof of it?
What you're going to do is on the application form, they're going to ask you where do you want your results sent. And you're going to put Florida Board, and please send a copy to me too. The school needs a copy. Okay? So the board's going to know. But what I recommend you do, just because, if you've ever been up there, I mean, they're like minimum wage and turnover's crazy. If you send something in there and then there's a delay with something else, that means there's a file laying on this person's desk and there's a file laying on that person's desk. And maybe somebody who's not really good at alphabetizing filed it, you know, and the B's are under the Z's, who knows. And they're not really concerned about making the effort to go find your file. You'll call back. If that means I got to get up and go over there and spend 10 minutes, I'm too busy. I'm not going to do it. And then if that person leaves, whatever stage their investigation was at, nobody knows, and then you start over. So yeah, I would recommend you do it all together. So yeah, it's going to be sent electronically, but when I send in my license for my application for my license, I'm going to send them a copy of that test score. So they don't have to go try to find it. It's right there in the envelope. Anything they need and want, put it in that one envelope. And send it certified so you know they can't say, we don't know, we don't. You got it, okay? That's how you want to do it. Keep a record, send it certified, and make sure they have whatever they want in one pile. Now, if there is something on your record, they may ask you to come in and they want to talk to you, and they may put you with someone for a little while, and you have kind of like a period of time where you're under review, kind of like a parole officer is the person that's going to look out for you. And say you had done drugs, you went into a rehab, you were all cleaned up, but there's still kind of and then after like 2 or 3 years and no more incidents, you clear all that time, they'll give you your license without any restrictions, right? So some things they'll work with you over, and it's, you know. But like I said, it's got anything to do with sex, forget it. You're not working in this field. You're just not. All right, so you don't want to go inactive because see what they're going to charge you. If you want to teach classes, there are certain rules. You have to have a license for a certain period of time before you can do it. The FSMTB exam fee is $195. The application fee is $45, and you don't get that back. You don't, okay? Now, if I ask for a refund, it has to be in writing, and I have to have a really good reason for why I want my money back. You know, you're sick, you're in the hospital, something happened. Not you just changed your mind, and once they get all this in, what they're going to do is send you a little postcard saying, you're approved, tell us where and when you want to take your test. And you'll have like a 3-month period in there. Now, once you get to that stage and you get cold feet and you change your mind about taking the test, you really got to, like, your dog had to die or you have a really good reason. Otherwise, they're just going to say, well, you know, yeah, come back. Yeah, get over it. Come back when you're ready. If you show up late, they will not let you in. Pay it again. Come back when you got another $195. So I'd recommend you decide where you want to go. Go find it. You know, get on the road and go over there and see where it's at, because you don't want to get lost on your way. And if you're a little anxious that morning, you know, a little nervous, you may end up God knows where because you weren't paying attention. So find out where it is and know how long it takes you to get there, right? So you're ready to go that day. Now, they're going to give you, I think it's an hour and a half to take the test. Maybe 2.5 hours. And you can either do a morning test or an afternoon test. So whichever way you think you do better when you first get up, or maybe you need to get your eyes open and look at a couple of stuff, then you can go in and take it. That's how you'll do it, okay? Now, you have to bring picture ID with you and that little certificate, that little card they gave you confirming your appointment. You get up there and you don't have it, $195, please. Come back when you're ready. They're kind of strict about that stuff. So make sure you got all that with you before you go up there. Okay. But they will send it off immediately. The state will know right then. But I still want to make sure that they know, because electronically doesn't mean it was filed correctly. So just put everything in the same envelope and send it, okay? All right, 480. What is 480? Now, there are a couple other statutes that some things would affect you. Chapter 456 is a chapter for all the health sciences, everybody in the health sciences. Certain rules, you know, would apply to all of us. But this one is specific to us. And it has a name. It's called the Massage Practice Act. Massage Practice Act. Now, some people will say, well, massage doesn't really do anything. You know, it's nice. kind of feels good, but that's about it. And you can say, au contraire. The state of Florida says it is therapeutic. And if I don't do it right, I could hurt you. And they have made me get a license to do this. So yeah, it does do something. It is recognized as health care in the state of Florida. So they recognize the practice of massage is potentially dangerous. You have to know what you're doing. Anatomy, physiology, the relationship between the structure and function. Massage is therapeutic, so underline that. It is therapeutic. Regulations are necessary to protect the public. So this is called police powers. States have police powers. If it is going to be something that affects your public health, safety, and welfare. If it affects someone's health, safety, and welfare, then they're going to have to set some kind of rules about it. Some kind of rules. And those are called scope of practice. It's our scope of practice. We can do these things. Other things we can't. So if it's not covered in here, we can't do it. Now, they want to put impositions on there and regulations, but not to the point where it's going to affect people's ability to make a living, for earning money doing this. But you also have something called consumer protection. Health and economic matters. So they can get you and make you pay for doing something wrong in massage, right? So it's not just a legal thing where you get in trouble, maybe you have to go into jail or whatever. They can also fine you, and they would rather take your money than anything. So they want to be able to fine you. But it also means that someone privately could sue you too. So if I hurt someone, they can take me to court, right? So you'll have a civil and a criminal problem. A lot of times it's the people don't really do anything, but if the state knows that you've done something, they are definitely going to sue you. But think about it. How many things go wrong with what we do? How many times do you think massage therapists get sued?
Not that often.
Do you ever hear about in the paper? Oh my God. No, it doesn't. It doesn't happen. Now, two things happen though that you probably would get sued for. Is you let the person fall, just like in any other business, somebody fell, grocery store, wherever. It's a very common thing, and that you definitely would be liable for. And someone would try to get their money back or get their, you didn't open the table up properly and it fell. It was up here and you made them hop down instead of lowering it. You left oil on their feet and they fell, right? Or you burned them. You put a hot stone on them, or you put a hot pack on them and you burned them. So the hot stone, this company did a survey, and of the few times we were sued, that was the one that people got sued the most for.
What about sexual misconduct?
So what?
Sexual misconduct by therapists, no?
Yeah, but not as much. I mean, it sounds like that happens all the time, but it doesn't.
Yeah.
But it doesn't.
Do we have to carry insurance?
Nope.
Should you?
Yeah. The state does not require it. Now, where you work might, and they're perfectly within their rights to make you cover and carry the insurance.
So you cannot be covered by your employer. Let's say I own the facility and you're working for me and I have tons of insurance and you're working for me. Are you covered by that?
Yeah, but do you want that responsibility? If you
Not
make them
really.
have their own, then,
Yeah.
that works up to a point. Now, somewhere like Marriott that's got really deep pockets, they don't even try to, because it won't do you any good. They're going to sue the Marriott. They are.
Yeah.
And they don't require it personally there because you're covered, right? But like you, private business, small, you would probably want them to work for you to have it. Now, if you have your own business and you're going out, mobile business, and you're going to people's homes and things like that, that's kind of, it's up to you. It's up to you.
expensive to get liability for yourself?
No, our insurance isn't that expensive. We have an association down here called the Florida State Massage Therapy Association. They have meetings every month, the first Tuesday of every month at the Imperial Point Hospital. I would recommend you join. It's a really good peer organization. You keep up with everything else. And part of their association dues is your insurance, which is, really reasonable. And they also offer all of your CEUs that you need. So you get all that as part of your association fees.
Florida State Massage
FSMTA.
Therapy Association.
Mm-hmm. And they have chapters for every county. So there's a Broward chapter, there's a Palm Beach County, there's a Miami-Dade. And you can go really to any of them that you want to. But the Broward one is really close. It's not that far. If you go down Cypress Creek to US 1 and go back north maybe 2 blocks, that's where the Imperial Point Hospital is. And it's the first Tuesday of every month. And they do a lot. They have like a Christmas dinner. They go on that little, what's that little boat that has a dinner on it?
Oh,
Jungle Queen. Jungle Queen. They do stuff like that all the time. And they do a lot of sporting events, And then they have guest speakers that come in at the meetings, and they do different courses, and they do the ones for your CEUs. That's where you go and get them. So it's a pretty good deal. Pretty good deal. Now you can
to join before you even graduate from.
Well, you can go now because Broward is a member.
Okay.
So you don't have to spend any money to join. You're already a member
Oh, really?
with Broward, yeah.
Nice.
If you weren't, I think it's like $50 to be a student member, but you don't have to do that. Now, you want to get credit for being there, sign in or something when you're there, and that's, 5 hours of time that you can get credit for. Now, if you'd like, we could go over to a meeting. I can't do it every month, maybe just once, maybe twice. We can all go as a group that Tuesday night and just go meet there at the class. Because you're going to get education. There's going to be something that somebody's teaching you while you're there. So we could do that. We could do that. That is a good thing to do. So the state does not require it, but it is part of our profession. And a lot of people that you work for are going to require it. Now, CPR is not required by the state. They don't have anything in here that says you have to have CPR. We're a health science course in a college, and part of health sciences, it is required. So if you look under the Department of Education, it is part of that. So when you're in school, you have to take it. But as far as Florida is concerned and the board, you could let it lapse. They don't make you keep it up. But almost everywhere you work is going to want you to have CPR. That definitely is going to be a requirement, whether they want your insurance or not. I've never worked anywhere that I did not have to have CPR. And they give you credit for having it. You get 4 CEUs for every renewal period because you have your CPR. So whatever you do, you had to take it now. Don't let it lapse. Keep it up. Keep it up, okay? So who is the board? The Board of Massage. Call them on the phone and hear their little speech that they give you. We're in the same thing with osteopathic physicians and a couple of other people. They cluster us with other people. And the department?
Department of Health.
Department of Health. Now listen, the board is only 7 people. And they only do 2 things. That's it. They set standards and they set education. They do not investigate. They do not come out and inspect. That's the Department of Health, DOH. So I got an establishment, I just got a spa, and I'm setting everything up. They're going to send someone out with their little check sheet to make sure everything is in compliance. It won't be a board member. There's only 7 of them, right? So you got to distinguish between who does what. The board only does 2 things, and that's it. 2 things, okay? Now, if you got in trouble and the Department of Health investigated you, they're going to bring all of that information and you will have to go before the board. The board will make the determination about, the Department of Health won't decide whether to take your license away. It'll be the board, based on what the Department of Health tells them about you. They turn in the report. So if you go to a meeting, part of the meeting is people, this problem, that person had this, they didn't do their license, and it's a long litany of all the people that they got to fine or take their license away. And then it will be all the people who want a license. You want an establishment license? You had your inspection, everything is great. The board still has to decide whether they're going to give you that establishment license or not. And then if you want to do CEUs, the board has to decide, does that fall within a massage therapist scope? And if it does, they'll give them, or if it does, but they have the final say in all that. They have the final say. So an apprentice is defined as someone who's studying under another licensed massage therapist. You're not in a board-approved school. You're doing it on a personal basis, one-on-one, with a massage therapist. And you have to do it in a certain facility. It has to have a shower, has to have all these things. So it can't just be riding along with you in your car when you go out and take care of your clients. That's not considered, that wouldn't work. So an establishment means they don't care what it is. If there's someone in there massaging, you got to have an establishment license. Doctors got really upset about this because for a long time they didn't have to do that. They would just have people there and they didn't have to get that extra license. But now they do. So licensure means that you will forever be referred to as a practitioner, have gotten approval from the board to practice your art. Now, there's a little bit of difference across the country. In some states you're called this, other states you're called that. In Canada you're a registered or something therapist, Although it says you are referred to as a practitioner, that's really not your title, not in Florida anymore. You are called a licensed massage therapist. So people will put after their name LMT. But that's not complete. You also have to put your number. You get an ID number, and wherever your name appears in any way, shape, or form, it's a form of advertising, and your number has to be on there. So you make up a bunch of business cards, your number better be on there. Even if you sign a letter, that license number needs to be on there. Now, your title is a licensed massage therapist, but you can't just put LMT and that's it. The number has to be on there too. Now, most people don't know this down here in Florida, but with the Department of Education, there are 3 different divisions, or whatever the heck they're called, that regulates massage. They all follow the board, but they all do it different. So there's one for us because we're in an accredited college. We have a much higher standard. We're separate. Then there's another division for the privately owned, the private schools, the proprietary schools. They don't have near as high a standard as we do. And then there's the division where if you work in a vocational school, but it's a state-run like Atlantic Vocational or Sheridan, those are part of the school system, but they're a vocational school. And they have a separate set of regulations. Everybody thinks, well, it's just one, right? We got a board. No. Which is sad. There's a difference. Now, at one point, they tried to make it all the same, and all of the people that were doing the private schools are making so much money off of you poor people, they didn't want it to change. If they could shove you through there in 6 months, just think of all the money they can get. They didn't want to change it, right? Make it a year. And they had more money than the state to fight it in court, so they won. So the state backed off and said, okay. But if you look at the standard, they're really supposed to be doing 750 hours. They really are, but they don't. So your education is nothing like someone who goes to one of these private schools would be. And think about it, half of that time you're making money for them in the clinic. So it may be a 6-month course, but you're only studying and learning for 3 months. That's it. And they're not in there showing you stuff when you're massaging. They're charging the public $35, $40, $50. So you're kind of on your own. You have your schedule, and that's not really, to me, that's not really part of your education. So 3 months, $15,000, please. Right? Isn't that what they want?
Yeah.
10,000, 15,000.
That's insane.
Yeah. And I kind of wish the state could do something about it, but, you know, that's commerce. Whatever the traffic will bear. And a lot of them were just popping people out that really couldn't do anything.
People really pay for it. I mean, I almost did.
Yeah.
Literally.
They're really
I was
pushy.
like, I'm doing it 6 months, and I was like, ah.
And their recruiters are really pushy too.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
call you. They call you.
Oh my God.
I was looking for that, and then I was thinking about that. They said, "Oh, that's very simple. We just add it to your student loan."
Yeah, don't worry about all that. That money, that you won't even feel it now. You'll feel it later. But not now.
I'm feeling it in my student.
Well, you know, for some reason they won't let me advertise because we're a public school. And a lot of people don't even know that the public schools, because all they see is the Kaiser ads and all that stuff, right? And Kaiser probably spends $10,000 a year just for magazine ads because they put their name out everywhere. Everywhere. And that's costly.
But everybody passes the exam.
Do they? No. Our pass rate here, the last class is 100%. It's never been less than 85. And I'll show you the sheet. The average for the state of Florida is 55. So we're way above the average.
So a lot of these people
Yeah.
that are going to, they're spending $50,000 on passing.
Yeah, and then you'll have to buy your own supplies too. That's just your tuition. Okay, they're just getting started. They get their hand in your pocket, they're not taking it out. Oh, you want to learn aromatherapy? We have aromatherapy in our school store.
Every extra, it was another 2 or 3.
Another two. Oh,
I was like, I looked at it, and I was really gonna write a check and go, I'm doing it. And then I went, I think that's when I had emailed
Yeah.
you and called you, and I said, help, please tell me you have this. And
So-
you spoke since August.
the whole time you're in school too, they're going, well, you got to do this too. You know, you need to be a complete, but this you got to take this with it. And that's what, another $600, $700, $800. Every course was an add-on, and it was more money. Now, the Florida College is run by a company called Steiner Group. They're out of England. They own a bunch of cruise ships. It's a whole cruise line thing. And they've got this whole little scam going for you to come work for them on their ships. But you got to pay them extra money to learn how to work on their ships. And you got to sign this contract, and if you want to get out of it, you got to pay them. I mean, it's pay them, pay them, pay them.
Called Steiner.
Steiner, Steiner, Steiner Group.
Yes.
Yeah, all of them are run by that same company. And I just want you to know, last year they got caught selling diplomas. You could pay them $5,000, $10,000, and they would make up your transcript, give you grades, and let you go take your state board.
You're talking about the College of Natural Health.
Yeah.
They wanted to start me the very next day, $15,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I almost
Yeah, we can start tomorrow. Right.
I'm sure we could.
Yes, they
I'm sure we could.
They do have I think people who went there, and they do have a good reputation, depending on which location, for their education. I know some friends who've been there, and they were like, maybe they're brainwashed a little bit throughout the way. I wouldn't go there, but
Brainwashed is a good word.
yeah, I heard they do a decent job. But those are just.
Well, someone who goes there is gonna say that, right?
They can't do that because they won't get any. I mean, I don't think it's on the level like.
Well, if you're able to bamboozle people and push it, it's all about pushing it onto the public. Yeah, that's
Make it seem
Yeah, yeah. But I've worked with a lot of their graduates, and I wasn't impressed.
It's a shame.
Out on the job, trying to work with them, you know? And they're so arrogant and so egotistical, and they don't really know crap. But you can't tell them they don't know crap, because they think they do.
College helpers.
No, the graduates. I've worked in
Yeah,
rehabs
they
with their
are-
graduates.
They are a little arrogant.
Yeah,
Because they're brainwashed.
they are totally
Sitting there,
brainwashed.
All these pamphlets and fancy marketing crap.
Because the school tells them this is all you need is our name to work in the field. That's all you need to do is be a Florida. Yeah, in their company. This is what happens. Now, some cruises are great. Some cruise lines, I would recommend you working for them. But others, no. It's all according to how they treat you. Don't go work for the Princess Cruise Lines. You'll be doing 8 or 9 massages a day for like $10, and you'll be in a stateroom with 3 other people, and you won't be able to get off and go anywhere. So you're traveling, but it's like you might as well be parked in the bay, because you're not really going to get to see anything. Right? You get a room, and that's it. Yeah. Very hard work. Very hard work. I wouldn't recommend it. Now, there's a couple of companies that are Swedish cruise lines, Viking something. They're excellent. They have a really good reputation. They pay really well. They don't, you're not like crammed into it. See, one thing you got to remember, they really don't have to treat you nice. Because once you go out past 1 mile on the water, it's international waters. It's international. And you're competing with people from the Philippines who, if it's $5 an hour and 1 bunk in a room with 10 other people, that's a great thing to them. So you can make your demands all you want. They don't care. They don't care. And then other companies, it's a little different. And then what I would recommend you do, now there are some companies that are yacht brokers, and they organize things and rent things for companies. So say a company wants to wine and dine a new client. They're trying to get this guy as a client. They'll send them out on a cruise. They'll give them a 2-week thing somewhere, like one of these fancy boats. And on that cruise, they're going to have a barber. They're going to have a hairdresser, a nail tech, a chef, a massage therapist, right? And they'll pay really good money to do that because they're trying to, So a private company like that would be the best one to work for. Now, some of them, because you're on a ship, they're going to make you it's kind of like a union thing that you do with some kind of license thing that says you're legit, and because they don't want you on a boat and you don't know what to do and you're going to fall off and all that kind of stuff. So they make you train and they make you get this certification, and that's about $1,000. But then you can work anywhere, right, on the private ones. If you go to the Caribbean and work, like Atlantis or any of those places, and you're not a citizen of that country, you have to have a work permit, and they're going to want you to, and that's about $1,000. So it's going to cost you something to go. If the company you work for wants to pay it, then that's great too. But if you just go and apply for a job, you got to remember there's going to be a little bit more to it than just going.
Yeah.
You have to come up with all this in the beginning. But if that's something that appeals to you, you want to travel, then do that. But go with the one that's a little more legitimate. It's not one of these Fast and Furious cruise things, because they're going to treat you really bad.
But all of them wants to just squeeze the workers, no matter where you're working.
Well, that's
Because
just it.
I was working in a cooking field for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the beginning of my career, I was told, go to cruise ship. That's wonderful experience. They pay you well. They take you everywhere. And then some of my classmates went. They
Hell.
were
Sardines.
working like 20 hours a day.
That's what I
Well, that's what I'm telling you. There's some that are very much like that. Don't work for them. The privately owned ones, it's a different story. It's a different story, okay? And then there are some that are, people can buy berths on these ships, like you can buy a condo, They're $200 and $300 million, you know, for a birth, or maybe $100 million for a birth, and they organize different trips for those ships. So that's a privately owned yacht, and people own the berth. It's kind of like those, what do you call that? Yeah, like a timeshare thing, yeah. But they're expensive. I mean, they're not cheap. They have to have hairdressers, they have to have barbers, and chefs, and massage therapists, right?
I knew a physical therapist, she worked on a ship that
Yeah.
explored the world. And
Yeah.
they have
So you have to research it. You have to know who it is that you're working for. Really look into it before you go and see. I've known people who've done it, and some people had horror stories to tell, and other people had a really good experience. So, but don't go because you're in love with someone.
Oh, jeez.
This friend of mine got sucked into doing this with her boyfriend. And when they got to Greece, they were going to work in this spa and do all this great stuff. Well, they started fighting about Sicily, about as far as Sicily. And she got dumped by him.
Into the ocean?
No. And it took that poor girl 2 years to work her way back home.
Oh, jeez. See, that's just a nightmare.
Trying to work, you know, just
Go because you're hot.
so don't do it that way. I mean, no matter what they promise you.
That's right.
I'm sure he promised her a lot, right? But it didn't work out. Didn't work out. Yeah.
Sandra, you said that the College of Natural Health was caught creating fake certificates. How could they still be operating?
You tell me.
People still willing to pay them.
Should have shut them down.
Money.
That's
Well,
fine.
they claim it was just these people, and they didn't know anything about it, and it wasn't their fault. And let me pay the $100,000, and we'll just call it quits. Yeah, yeah. But you can look it up. I'm not lying. You can look it up. The board will have it on record. The board will have it on record. Yeah. And who knows how long they've been doing it? Who knows, right? And the only way they got caught is because some idiot who bought this was bragging to someone else that they paid, you know, they paid for it. That's how they got caught. So now they've changed the rules about how you submit the paperwork, and, you know, they tried to tighten down on making sure it is legit. Anyway, so that's private schools for you. And a couple of them aren't around anymore because they were just like a mill. Just got them in there and got them out, and nobody knew what they were doing. That Brown, what was it, Brown College or something like that. And that's other technical school. So you see they're not around anymore. There was this big boom, you know, like other professions, like with the computer thing, and then there was a bust. So Silicon Valley was riding high there for a while, right? And they're not riding so high now because competition came in, the market changed, and now it's a little different. But it's not a bad thing for us. It's not a bad thing that there's not 20,000 people graduating every year, you know, and half of them don't know what they're doing, and half of them won't be doing it in a year or two. They will just quit. But the schools, and when we look at history, when we study the history of massage, you're going to see that this has happened before. There was a big period of time when, and it was the schools doing it, the schools were doing it, and the profession got a really bad reputation for that very reason, and we kind of lost it, and people lost the respect for the profession, and it almost went out completely. And then only in the 60s with the human potential movement, when they discovered how important stress was and reducing stress. And now it's on it's totally mainstream, right? It's everywhere you go. We still have that little thing about the sexual part of it all. Some people still, you know, think that that's all we do, right? That's all we do. Yeah, because there's still a stigma, there is. And there was good reason for that, because there was a stigma. What was happening in America, just like these schools are charging way too much money, but they would send recruiters out into the community, not that you just called and came in and then they were all over with you. They would go out into the ghettos and they would talk these poor women into coming to the school, tell them how much money they'll make, and they'll loan them the money to go to school. They don't have to pay them right now. And then when they can't pay it back, you know, you can come here and we can work it off. in our parlor. So that's where the massage parlor came
Neon
from.
lights.
Yeah, and then the government and everybody kind of cracked down on it. So we all got tarred with the same brush. That was happening there, right? And then for a long time, it was just part of sports. Athletes, still were getting massage. And for a long time, about the only place you could get a massage is if you went to the YMCA. You know what we were called then? We were called rubbers. RUBBERS. You heard the term get a rub down, right? Where would you go get a rub down? You went to the YMCA. So they called massage therapists rubbers at that time. Yeah, they're still in there, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, so our profession has changed over the years. And at those times, there really wasn't. It's kind of like now. I mean, this school taught this, and that school taught that, and there was no standardized thing to do it at all. And it wasn't just here. It also happened in England. And a group of people in England kind of saved us. They formed this little association. And they wouldn't work with you unless it was with a doctor's note, and you had to be part of that group. You had standards that you had to meet. And they kind of saved us as a profession. They did. And that kind of spread out from there and brought it back up to where it should be. PT came out of massage. Massage was first, and then PT came out of massage. Because when the insurance got into the game, they're only willing to pay for the exercise part. Because we used to be called rehabilitation aides. And we did everything, to help rehabilitate somebody. And like today, they thought, well, the massage part isn't that important. It doesn't do that much for the person to help them get better. Well, it's the most important thing you can possibly do for the person to make them better. But that was the thinking at the time. So that's why it changed. Now in Europe, it's still very much the same. In Europe, you are they don't call it physical therapy, but you want to go into that branch of rehabilitative medicine, and you have two tracks. You can do the manual techniques and concentrate on the massage part, or you can do the exercise part. You could do both, I guess, but that's how it kind of split up. Yeah. Kind of split up. Now, in America, you can't even get a college degree, no matter what the Florida college says. That is not a recognized 2-year degree. If you went to that school, I would not be able to accept one single credit you earned there. Not one. Because they're not accredited. They're not part of any kind of accrediting body. They're not part of the school system. They say I'm giving you an associate's degree. They make it sound like, but it's worthless. It's absolutely worthless. So, yeah, but now, like in other countries, it's a degree. So if you wanted to get a master's in massage, you could go to England and go to the Westminster University and get a master's in manual techniques.
Do they use different techniques over there?
Pretty much what you're doing. It's massage, It's massage. Deep tissue, trigger point, Swedish. And in Russia has never, ever separated massage out from the medical field. In fact, you have to be a massage therapist before you can be a doctor.
That's how it should have been.
Yeah, that is how it should be. It absolutely should be that way. They didn't have a lot of drugs like we did. They had to depend on what they had, which was a lot of people. You got ice, you got a hand. That's what you had to work with. So they really, really developed it as a medical field. In Russia, when the Olympic athletes come back and they're parading them all over the place, you know who gets the award in the handshake first? The massage therapist. They're honored first because they know without that massage therapist, that athlete would have never been able to do what they can do. Highly respected in that country.
Is that the same in China?
Very much so. In China, like in Russia and China, you can go to a hospital and there's the Western and then the Eastern. Sometimes they combine them, but it's part of the hospital. I'd like to see massage be part of like our hospital. Have a whole wing, totally accepted and trained. Yeah. So, yeah, it is. And it's something that's you could train in too. I mean, if you want to immerse yourself, go over there and train at one of their hospitals. If you really want to learn AMA and the Twina and really learn to do their massages, you can do it in the hospital. That's where you go to train. And then the branch from that is called Shiatsu, and that's Japanese. And our version of Shiatsu is nothing like their version because theirs is a true medical, profession. They do things chiropractors can do. So over there, you have to go for a couple of years, and it's a medical training to do Shiatsu there. So if you go online and look at some of the people that are showing you how to do it from Japan and from China, it looks totally different than what we do here. So we wouldn't be able to do half of what they can do because that would be outside our scope. Some of it we can do, some of it we can't. So a Shiatsu therapist it's totally different where you are in the world, right? So it means different things here. But if it's something you want to do and be medical, then you have to leave America. You can't get it here. The closest places would be Canada. In Canada, it's a 2-year degree at a minimum. At a minimum. Now, they will take your Florida license. You could go up there, but you would only be able to do very few things, very simple things. You could work in a spa and maybe do Swedish, but that would be it. But if you wanted to work in your own practice, you wanted to work in a rehab, work anywhere else, you have to go back to school. So what you do, they consider you a technician. You're not a therapist up there. You don't know enough to be a therapist. Okay? So all over the world it's different. We're hoping that what is so weird though, innovations in massage, it's almost all Americans. And the people who are innovating and really training and teaching us are men. But you go to a spa, there's only 2 or 3 guys on staff, right? And everybody else is a woman. Because most people don't want a guy. They'd rather have a woman work on them than a guy. But the guys are the ones who are the ones teaching us how to do everything. So it's really crazy. It's kind of crazy. That's kind of changing, but I just want you guys to be aware that this is really more a woman-oriented profession. It'll never be equal, like there's 10 guys working on the staff and there's 10 women working on the staff. It's always going to be,
So women are always going to pay more than men?
No, the pay is the same. The pay is the same. It's just because people are taking their clothes off. Men and women both feel more comfortable if it's a woman. But if you're in a rehab setting, the man has more respect as far as being capable and knowing how to take care of you. People still kind of have a prejudice against a woman who's in charge of the medical care, right? And it's that way in being a chef too. You can be a waitress, you can run around out there and serve the food all day long, but you get back in that kitchen, it's a man's world back there. They don't want no women back there. Yeah. It's very hard for a woman to become a chef. Really, really hard.
Sandra, if you go to the mall in Coral Springs, in one of the hallways, they have a bunch of Orientals doing chair massage. They don't even speak English. How do they get away with that?
What do you think? How did they pass their state board? They can't even speak English, so that's where that $5. That's what that $5 is for.
Well, they're not doing their job, I'll tell you that much.
You know what? This is really interesting. In Coconut Creek, I went to this, there's a little shopping mall called the Promenade, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a little Oriental massage place. And I was like, oh, me and my friend went in.
I've seen them, yeah.
And there's a little classroom in the back of the spa where they're doing massage therapy. They're doing massage therapy courses, but it's all Asians. It's so weird, and they have like this projector, and they're all. So I don't know if they have like their own little like curriculum, and it's accredited.
Probably not. They're in a
But I
back
was
room.
like a little.
The board doesn't find out about all the stuff until someone reports it. Someone has to, like if you see an ad in a paper that's, really suggestive and wrong and there's no number there on it, You got to send it into the board. Say, look, this was in the Sun Sentinel this Sunday at 7 o'clock, and look at what this ad is. Then they'll come out and investigate it. And if your neighbor is having people come over and she's massaging them in the back bedroom, nobody's going to know until you report her, to your reporter. Yeah, somebody, they got to know about it before they can do anything about it.
It's not allowed even though if you have your license.
We'll talk about it. The establishment has to follow certain guidelines. First of all, it has to be zoned for a business, and there's two kinds of zoning for a business. One is you have your business in your home, but you're not having a bunch of people come. The public isn't coming in and buying things or getting a service. It's your little office. You go to the customer. They don't come to you. And they'll allow that. They'll allow that in a lot of places. But to be zoned for customers, that's a whole different ballgame. And most residential areas don't want people coming in and out all the time. That's why you have to go over there to that shopping center to do that. You can't do it here. Now, there's a couple of places down here that kind of got grandfathered in out by the airport in West Palm, an older area. And they have duplexes. So you live on this side and you work on that side, but there's a lot of business in there, so there's a lot of traffic, and it's okay to do. It's kind of like you're living in a business district. It's not business is happening in a residential. It's a little different. But most of the places, no. Now, up north, it's different because you can have a business in your basement and you live upstairs.
That's what it's just.
Yeah. Delray Beach, down the strip there, they have the businesses, but then they have the apartment over the top. That's a rare thing down here. It's not the same at all. So up north, you could be a doctor even, and you got this wing, and that's where you see your patients. That's your home. But not down here. Not down here. It's a little different. Do you want people coming into your home?
No.
That you really don't know? And then you don't know the people that they know, but now they know that person's coming to you, and so they know where you are.
And they know what you have in there.
I wouldn't recommend you do that. Some people think that's okay, but it's not. And there's a lot of things you have to do. Like a duplex is perfect because it has to be completely separate from where you live. There's got to be a wall. You can't have them go into the back bedroom. That's not acceptable. There has to be fire extinguishers and exit signs and all that kind of stuff. So if you can live next to it, above it, beside it, whatever, that's okay. Now, a lot of my family lives in Macon, Georgia, and my Aunt Edna had a beauty parlor for God knows how long, 30 years probably. But it's hilly there, right? So where the house was,
Mercer College is there?
yeah. The house was on a hill, so the basement wasn't like underground. You could still get out into the parking lot from the basement with these big doors. So her beauty shop was right there, and they lived up here. But there was no door and stairs going down from the house into the beauty. You had to go out the back door and walk down the hill and, and go in that way. Bathroom has to be separate, all that kind of stuff. But I would never want a bunch of strangers coming to my house. And who turns you in is your neighbors.
Yeah.
That's who gets you. Or someone who went to all the trouble and expense to do it right and is struggling financially, and there you are making bukus of money and you're not paying for any kind of business expense, right? They'll turn you in. They'll turn
It
you
would be an
in.
efficiency.
Gets a little sketchy.
It would have to meet the code. The business inspector would have to come out for that area, so you have to meet all these standards for it to be approved. So the zoning, where you're at, is it zoned for it? Is it the building up to code for that area? And it's not just an establishment license. I mean, everybody's going to come in and want to make sure that you're doing the right thing, right? You have to have a clear exit out of the building and all this kind of stuff. And yeah, if it meets that, then yeah, okay. And now you got to have a ramp and for ADA and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's kind of difficult.
What is this, do you have to have you said something about the shower and stuff, do you have to have a bathroom with the shower and a whole?
If you have any type of hydrotherapy, equipment?
Uh-huh.
You do.
Okay.
But if you're not offering those services, you don't. But if I wanted to go and be an apprentice for someone, they have to offer everything.
Okay.
It has to be a full-service kind of place for me to train in it. Yeah. But no, unless I'm offering one of those treatments, then I don't have to have a shower. I do have to have a bathroom. Now, it doesn't have to be in your place of business. Haven't you been to the strip malls and they're out in the middle of the thing, or the airports, they're out in the middle of the thing, right? You have to be within 300 feet of a public bathroom. So from your establishment, it can't be more than 300 feet away from a public bathroom. So you can be in the mall, but you can't be on this end of the mall and the bathroom's way over there. It's got to be close by. It has to be close by. Yeah. And the airports are a good place, but it's very expensive. They charge a fortune for the rent. So you got to be doing something to earn a lot of money there, or you won't be able to afford it. It's not cheap to be in an airport. Truck stops. A lot of truck stops, they offer a massage now, right? If it's just it could be just a chair, it could be, foot massage. And those poor guys, they're traveling, staying overnight. They would want their shoulders and their hands and their back worked on. They don't have to take their clothes off. It could be something simple. But they're there too. They're there. Look around. They're there. They're just about everywhere. Just about everywhere.
Sandra, I saw an ad, if I look, really on Craigslist, on the spa, because I
There you
want
go.
to see how often massage therapists are posted. And it's awesome, so we have work out there. But they were looking for massage therapists for a chair massage for the poker season. So those guys sitting there playing poker, the money was good per shift. I thought they hired
A couple of companies have kind of cornered it. So you as an individual probably couldn't go to work there. You have to work for the company that it's like a franchise. The casino franchises it out, and then you work for that company. And yes, they do pay very well. And the gamblers tip really well too.
Now, these are the guys playing the poker for the big money. Yeah, and they just want to loosen up.
Now,
they don't stop playing.
you're really addicted when you won't even get up off of the chair. You're half dead, and so only someone will come over and kind of wake you up a little bit, massaging your shoulders, and your hands hurt from holding. Get those hands loosened up a little bit so you can keep playing.
I played a tournament for 20 hours one time.
See, that's what they're doing, and they're
Hours.
200 tips, $100 tips, and they give you chips. Yeah, they do. A girl in the last class does that. She was a dealer, and she saw how much money those people walking around on the floor were doing, making money. She came to school to go back and be the massage therapist now. And she's doing really well. She might come in, you might get to meet her, because she'll come over and get massages. But yeah, it's a great thing to do. It is. So there's all kinds of opportunities that there weren't before to do. And, short little things, and people don't have to get undressed, and, it's a little different thing. You're out in the public. But heck yeah. Donald Trump pays really good, by the way. He does. He has private parties. He wines and dines people. And I work for a company, it's a catering business, Hughes Catering. And they'll get a big job thing to cater, and they also do the entertainment. They hire the one company to do everything, and you go and do chair with them. And you get paid up front. You don't have to wait to see, $1 a minute for whoever comes by. You're going to make this much money, and they hire you for, say, 3 hours. And if you only did one massage, oh well. It doesn't matter. You're offering that thing. And an advertising company, City Mattress? I think it was, no, that's not City. City Furniture. And what's the other one, the mattress company? Mattress Giant. They've opened this big new store, and all the people that were coming there, they brought them from other parts of the country. So all the personnel were new. And the first night, the grand opening thing, and they were trying to get the public in to come, to the new store. So all the people that were there were new, and they were trying to get the public in. So they hired us to come out and do massage. And after everybody got kind of drunk, we were making really good money. And then the salespeople try to outdo each other, you know, and so they throw money around to impress everybody else. So one or two people kind of got it started, and then you weren't going to go get a chair massage without tipping too, because they did, and you're a bigger salesman than him. You know, you want the boss to know that you make more money for the company than that guy. So it got pretty good. And you could go, you know, Fred gave us 50. Tipping, by the way, is something you can't ask for. You can't stand at the door, you know. So you got to be subtle about it. Built it in somehow, some way where you kind of give them the hint. At the Four Seasons, they used to let us do the sales thing. You know, that most places they go up to the counter, but we would go and get the little booklet thing for them to pay, and we would go into the room, and they would sign for it to their room or sign the credit card slip or whatever. And where it said gratuity, you'd make a circle, you put little star things like a little sun, and you're between them and the door with your little thing, right? You can do stuff like that. But then if they ignore that line and they just brush past you, you can't say like, hey. So you can't be really and make them feel guilty. You know, you want to, but you can't. So you can't follow them up to the front desk and slam it down on the desk and just look them up and down and then go back to your room. You can't do that kind of stuff. And some places people tip really good, and other places they don't. So don't expect it just because it's a 5-star hotel that people are going to tip you.
From cultures, they're different. Like some people don't even realize that that's part of. I know people from other countries, they think that it's already included. Or
Canadians don't
yeah,
tip.
Yeah.
They don't tip. And men tip a lot more than women. A lot of times women won't tip. You know, we don't. Guys respect the fact that you're working for a living, and they'll give you a big tip. Golfers are the best. Golfers are the best. And there's a lot of amateur people down here, not just the pros. You know, they all do it kind of as a sport, and they even have a little circuit that they do, but they're not pros. But they really, really like massage. They know the benefit from massage, and they just won't play without a massage therapist working on them. And they always tip really well. So if you want to try to get some golfers for clients. All right, so you can have an establishment. Well, you can have one without a bathroom, but how far away can you be from the bathroom?
300 feet.
300 feet. I don't have to have a shower unless I have a specific treatment I'm doing on the premises. And the bathroom, the washing your hands is required, but you don't have to have a sink in every room. You can just have the hand sanitizer. It has to be a little better than that clear jelly stuff, but you can buy hand sanitizers that are also, they're called waterless cleansers, right? So as long as I can keep my hands clean, or it's down the hall, but you don't have to have a sink in every room. But you can't be so far away from it, 20 feet from it, or you got to have the chemical in there to wash your hands, okay? So if you've got a bunch of treatment rooms inside the spa, there's a regulation about how far away the bathroom can be. And if you got a really big place, then you got to have more than one bathroom. You know, it's based on all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So, and you don't have to have hot water. Did you know that? Just as long as you got running water, that's all you have to have. Running water. Doesn't have to be hot. Your garbage can has to be covered. How many places do you go and they're breaking that rule, right? It's supposed to be covered. You really shouldn't have an open garbage can in a bathroom in a spa. It has to be ventilated. You have to have the vent things in the ceiling. You have to have insurance if you're an owner. If you own the place, you're an establishment, you have to have liability, okay? And if the owner's name is like there's the business and the owner, and it's not George's Spa, the whole thing is George, it's something else, then on that certificate it has to have the spa's name and the person's name. A person's name. Somebody personally has to be on that paperwork.
So 2 different fees for that,
No, it's one, but
both?
you can't just have the spa name on that piece of paper. There has to be some human being that they can go to,
Not a robot.
you know, the owner or the CEO or somebody like that. Has to be a person on there. Now, they can talk you into having the insurance policy and you cover the spa, but don't ever do that. But they might try to, you know, talk you into it, but don't, because it really, I mean, it could be in your name too. I mean, you could be responsible and have no financial interest in the place at all. Just so long as you're on there, then,
And a good cut from it, I hope.
yeah, well, you'd hope, right? You'd hope. All right, so establishments are a little different than being a massage therapist, but you still have to be licensed. You still have to renew every 2 years. You still have to get fingerprinted, just like the therapist does. They have to have insurance. You don't, but you probably will, because where you go work, they're probably going to say you have to have it. You can also be something called a mobile therapist. I don't want to own a business, but I want to go do private clients. And I can do that. Now, along with your state law, your state license, you also have to get a business license, an occupational license. So wherever you work, the city or the county or both, you also have to be licensed through them. Through them, okay? And on that license, it can say mobile therapist. And that means you don't own a spa, you go to the client's house. So legally, you can go to their house, you can go to the business where they work, you can go to a sporting event, you can go to a sales convention, you can go do the boat show every year. But if you're out at a public venue like that, you have to have written permission from the people that own the property where you're at that you can be there. You can't just show up in the parking lot and put your chair by the door, like at the Sunrise Theater, they're having a big concert. U2 is in town, and you go up on the patio with your chair. You know, you can't do that. But if you got the permission, you can certainly do it. And that's another thing you could do. These different companies, we have this degree here, by the way. It's called hospitality degree. And they're the ones who kind of run stuff, and they plan parties, and it sounds like a fun job to me. I mean, you know, you get to pick out colors and put all that kind of stuff together. And the conventions, and they handle all that stuff. And they use massage therapists. They can include that in the entertainment package, right? And a lot of times a sales convention is in town, and they will have massage therapists to go in as the speakers are talking. And that happens a lot at hotels like the Marriott. That's all half their money they make, right? They wouldn't be able to exist just on written rooms. Those big rooms, those conventions that they book all year long, that's where they make their money. And if you work somewhere like that and there's a spa, they usually use the spa personnel. Like they'll book you 3 hours chair massage from whatever time for this in this ballroom. And it's more money. It's more money than if they came into the spa. You get more money doing that. Or it's a private company doing it, like a hospitality company. So you kind of have to be a salesman, don't you? You get your license. Well, people aren't going to come knock on your door to ask you to come work. You got to go where they are. And it has to be people with money. I mean, my neighbors can't afford me. I have to go where they are, right? So if the little wine and cheese, thing is coming and it's $100 to go do the wine and cheese festival, go do the wine and cheese festival. And bring your cards with you. Find the yacht companies that rent yachts and do staffing. There's companies that do staffing for yachts. Send them your card, go out and meet them, show up one day, introduce yourself. There's a lot of them down along the 17th Street Causeway and Port of Everglades, all kinds of businesses there, right? That you can work for. You got to seek them out and be unconventional. Now, yeah. You know who can help you with all this if you don't know how to do it? Reference librarians. That's their job. They've got books in there. Say you live in this, you want to market this part of town, and you don't want anyone that makes less than $70,000 a year. They can find those people for you. They will look up the officers for the companies, tell you who to call, who to write, send them a special little letter addressed to them personally. You look their name up, dear Mike. And make it not look like it's a mass mailing. They'll just throw those in the little envelope, and it looks like an invitation to someone's party. It's got their name on there in gold script.
Can I give the email address?
They're going to open that. I want to give you a free massage.
Because you're rich.
Because
Gotta go over the moon now.
I feel I have something to offer. I feel I have something to offer.
Put a little
I don't know what it is.
Yeah, and if you just focus like that, maybe one part of town, like one of these places where fairly affluent, Wilton Manors and places like, Palm Beach, downtown Palm Beach, those little enclaves, anywhere along A1A, so close to home. Cross-reference, look them up by street. So you don't just send something out to occupant, They're going to throw that away.
Personalize it.
Personalize it. Reach out to them in person.
In your face known, like I did that for personal training. Like once your name or your face is known in the community of like you shop here, you're at this Publix, or you're at this place, or you're at this store, and what do you do? And you have like that one-on-one personal customer service. You'd be surprised how many people are like, oh my God, when can you start? And boom, you have a job.
And we're a status symbol to them. Personal trainer, everybody has their own personal trainer now. It's a status symbol. Well, who's your personal trainer? Somebody that they've heard of, and you can bragging rights. And they all have their own massage therapist.
Oh yeah.
And the really rich ones have their own hairdresser that comes to them, right? So that's what you want to do, is you want to be someone. And they have to be this way. They have to be very leery, of a stranger. But once you get in with one or two of them, you got the whole street.
You got the whole block.
You got the whole street. Because they'll tell each other, and they feel a lot more secure with someone that they know. And another thing you've got to do, because I used to do this in Palm Beach, you have got to register with the police department. Go in there and tell them who you are. Let them take your picture. Put you on record. Because a lot of times, someone's security company will call the police to find out, this person wants to come over here. What do you know about them? Oh, Sandra, I've known her for years. She's been coming over here. We've got her records here if you want to see her records. And they'll go, oh, okay. They'll go, okay. I used to do a lot out of the Chesterfield Hotel. You ever been downtown, West Palm? No. They don't have a spa, right? It's where the Kennedys stay. And the concierge would say, I have someone who wants a massage. Can you come up? And I would give him something for his effort, right? So, and then you get a couple of them. And I used to have to go down to the Keys. I had a water treatment business, and I would take care of that really quickly. But I would call up like Hawks Cay before they built their spa in the Chica Lodge, and I'd just say, hi, I'm going to be down there this weekend. Let me know if you got any clients that you would like for me to come out and work on. And before I got down there, I would have 4 or 5 people lined up from him. A lot of drug companies wine and dine doctors, and that's where they send them for a couple of weeks with their wives. And the wives are very bored, so they got to think of something to do for the wives while the guys are in there. And they pay for it, right? So the ladies will spend all day getting pampered because they're not paying for it. Give me a 2-hour massage. It's okay. And that's a great way. And you only need maybe 1 or 2 doctors' feet like you. Now that you're a massage therapist and a personal trainer, they got somebody that has a little bit of a heart problem, maybe a little overweight, and they need to get back in shape. They'd rather have someone like you taking care of that person than someone else. And they'll just feed them to you. Just one or two people, that's really all you need. But you have to establish yourself. You know, if you think you're going to walk out of here and make $50,000 the first year, good luck. Good luck. You have to pay your dues, you have to work into it, and establish yourself. You know, so would anybody else, right? Anybody else in personal service or medical field. Chiropractors, they have to work really hard to get their clientele. And who else can say, I can go out and make maybe not 50, not the first year, but eventually, and more? And how much did it cost me to go into the field? $3,000 for your education. How much is a table? $500 maybe, some sheets, a couple of bottles of oil, and I'm ready to go. What does it take a chiropractor to open his door? Hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? With the same hope of maybe making $50,000, but not the first year. Not the first year.
I'm just going to throw this out there since no one said it yet, and I don't know a lot about this because I'm not that. But another option that we should all think about is, like you said, wellness. In terms of wellness and corporate wellness, companies now wanting to de-stress their employees. A lot of them will have massage therapists at their wellness fairs. Sometimes they hold 2 a year in one of the companies I work for. You can register with a lot of the health benefit companies, like think about AdMed, Coventry Healthcare. All these places actually hire massage therapists because they cover the cost to send you to any of the companies who utilize them as their health plan. Because I was in human resources.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. We had massage therapists at the wellness fair. We paid them. It was part of our wellness program through AdMed. They paid you guys. So why not? And because they hire you guys too. Because people need wellness. They recognize massage as wellness. And that's what everyone was going to get, Sandra. They didn't want their blood pressure taken. They didn't want their blood sugar. They all came up and
For the massage.
them all to get it in. Even me. Yeah, so just so I put it out there. That's what everyone wanted.
We're the magnet that pulls people in. And now, when anybody gathers together for whatever reason, they expect massage to be part of it. They do. They do. So it's just a matter of getting out there and selling yourself, right? Just getting your name out there, being available. We even make money here at the college through we have a wellness department, and Cigna pays me to come out and offer chair massage at their health fairs. At their health fairs.
Well, that's huge down here. Like, I know just from, in South Florida, especially, like, wellness, you know, like, the intravenous drug, the vitamins, everybody wants to feel good, look good. That's what we're at right now, at least in our time. I mean, it's going to keep popping for the next couple, at least 5 to 10 years. Everybody wants to look young and feel good.
I just wish more companies would adopt it.
Correct.
Because companies like Google and places like that, why people don't want to leave is because of all of the benefits they offer. Not just a paycheck, but there's a company called Ultimate Software. Oh, they have a massage therapist who works for the company. And she only does massage for the employees.
Yep.
Now, wouldn't you guys like that? Like, because you're stressed. Think about it. Just get away, let's say, even if it's a 15-minute chair massage. Sandra, you think I can go? Yeah, I would.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
why more companies don't adopt it is cheap, but still, it actually decreases the cost of healthcare because people are less stressed out.
Well, this is one, we'll get into this a little more when we look at the history and the business part of it all. But yeah, there's a lady down in Miami. Her name is Tiffany Fields, and her company is called Touch Research Institute. And she has done studies on every possible population that needed massage, type of massage. So you've got medical research behind. So you go in and make a presentation to a company. It's not just, your employees will really like it, they'll feel much better. Your workman's comp costs are going to go down. The time lost from work, people calling out, will go down. You got to show them where they're going to make money having you there.
All about the dollar sign.
It's a corporate thing, right? But if you've got the research to do that, and you go in there and show that this isn't really going to be a drain on you because you're going to get something by offering this. And the very first place that did this, David Palmer, who invented the chair, an on-site massage. His first client was Apple. Now, how big is Apple?
Huge.
It's huge. And he went out there with his little presentation, and nobody had ever even seen a chair before. He just invented it. Your employees won't have to get undressed. We can do it. We can bring it to them. We can reduce the stress on the job where they need it. And they signed up. They signed up. So that's
It's not just for, like, so I mean, we had spoken, I would say, Dr. Stone massaged me 15 years ago. And, I mean, just her face I remember, and I broke my back. I was a gymnast, and not just sports, but, I mean, some fields or careers, that's part of your, either your training or your curriculum or what you invest in. So
Yeah.
it's not just about, people who sit in a chair at a desk all day, like you said, Google and Apple. I mean, when people are hunched, they have issues. I mean, if you sit in a chair for 10 years, there's a problem. So obviously the sports field has gotten it. Massage is important. But could you imagine if you touched all those other companies of how important it really is once, the research continues to grow. I mean, it's a career that's flourishing.
It is. And I like, one thing about massage that I like is it's not the same. I may start off doing chair massage, and if I get kind of tired of chair massage, I'll go and do pregnancy, and I don't kind of want to do that anymore, then maybe I'll go over here and work with elderly people. Or I only want to do cranial sacral now, so that's all I do. There's a lot of variety. A lot of variety. So you don't get bored. I mean, you don't have to change your profession. You just change what you're doing and where you're doing it. That's all. So the law is going to allow us to do a lot of that. It'll allow us to go to those places. It'll allow us to be a part of that company and go out with them. Be a part of that, right? But we can't have them come to us unless it's a spa. Your personal property, you don't have them come to you. Okay, you go to them. You go to them. So to take your chair or your table somewhere, you don't have to have an establishment license. You just need the mobile occupational license and your LMT license. That's all you need. Now, the simplest form of business would be just using your name. If I just started using my name, I would have a business. That would be the simplest form. But if I wanted to use another name, like Under the Palms or something like that, legally, what do I have to do? It's called fictitious name. That's for the state of Florida, right? It'll be doing business as, so you have to fill out the paperwork and submit it, and they will have to look it up to see if anyone else has already got that name. Then you're going to have to publish it somewhere 3 times, some kind of public, and you can get a cheap paper on, just put an ad. When you open the paper up, the first section is called public notices. That's where all that is, okay? So they researched it, you applied, you published it, and nobody stepped up and said, that's my name. Then you can start using that name. Start using that name. If you earn money at it, how often do you have to pay your taxes? Quarterly. You can't wait till the end of the year. If within these 3-month period of time I made money, I've got to send it in then. I have to send it in then. Now, if you're working for someone, you get a W-2, right? What do you get when you're independent? 1099. 1099. If you're a partnership, it'll be something, for a partnership was 1065. If it's a 1099, you would probably also do a Schedule C for your profits and loss. If it's a partnership, it'll be a Schedule K. And there's no rule about that. You can make 80% of the money and your partner only 20%. It's really between you and your partner how you divvy up the money. But don't do it communally, because your partner could run up a bunch of money, charge all the credit cards, and skip town, and you're left holding the bag, right? So be careful how you do it. Even if it's your brother-in-law, he could still skip out of town on you. So a partnership, and like with you guys, it may be too expensive for you by yourself to try to do a business. But if 4 of you got together and rented an office with one secretary or whatever, that would be a lot more economically feasible. Doctors do that all the time, don't they? Yes, they do. Very few of them can afford to be in one little building by themselves. And they call it a professional association. But it's basically a partnership. It's basically a partnership, okay? So you can do that. You can do that. You can also be a corporation. Even one person can be a corporation. It's called a sub S. And that would be the best way as far as liability goes. Because a corporation is considered a person. So whatever the corporation does, they cannot take your personal property. There's one other entity that's like that, and that's a ship. Ships are considered a person. So the legal liability and all, whatever, like when the Exxon Valdez spilled all that oil, Exxon technically really didn't have to do anything. It was, if that ship had earned money, then that would have been only the ship's responsibility to clean it up. They can even register them in different countries. You know, you could have a fleet of ships and they're registered all over the place. But each one is considered like a corporation. It's an individual person. So you, or Exxon, really legally wasn't responsible. Now they stepped up and, you know, cleaned it up, but it really wasn't their responsibility to do it. So a corporation and a ship are the only two business entities that we have that are considered a person, a separate person. So as a massage therapist, you can work just independently as yourself, but then if you get into it as a business, you're going to have all this other stuff. You have to do a fictitious name. You have to have an occupational license, right, to do business.
Would you recommend just getting the occupational license for the county? Or sometimes the county, the city?
It's all according to what the regulations are. I mean, I don't get to set those regulations. This is the problem in California, okay? California really doesn't have a main licensing. So you work in this city and you work in this county, but you want to go out and do a massage in this other county, you got to have a license for the city where you're at, the county where you're at, the next county where you're at, and the city that you're at. So to really kind of set yourself up there, it would cost you thousands of dollars every year just to be legal, because it's all patchworky. And this county might say, well, you need to have 500 hours of training to be a massage therapist, to get a license with me. And the county next to them would say, oh, 50, we don't care, you know. So you really don't know. I mean, it's kind of hard to expand in that kind of environment, right? In that kind of situation. Here it's not so bad, but it's up to where you're at. I worked in Hollywood for a while, and I had to get a county and a city, both. Yeah, $86 for Hollywood, just to work in the city.
What's per hour?
And as far as I'm concerned, it's a spa. The owner should be paying all that, or not asking us to pay all that. Why do I have to pay all that? I'm working in a business. Why am I having to pay for the fire department and the city and the lights and all that? I'm not an owner, but I had to get an occupational license just like an owner would. What we need to, some things we need to change, you know, and that's one of them, is all this licensing crap that we have to go through. Just because, I mean, they don't make nurses do that. No. Can you imagine if every nurse working in the hospital had to have a city and county license just to work there in that hospital? They would freak out, right? They would freak out. But that's some of the things we need to change. But for now, you have to have all those licenses to work. You do. And it is dependent on where you're at. Now, when I worked at the Marriott, all we had to do was get the Fort Lauderdale license, the city license. That's all we needed. You'd think they would have paid it for us. They were making so much money, but no, we had to do it. But Hollywood, it's county and city. You know, if you're in an unincorporated area, then it's just the county. But you won't know that until you go down to City Hall. You go into the occupational license office, and they'll tell you what you need to do. Right? They'll tell you. Yeah. So, do you have to be 18 years of age to be a massage therapist?
Yes.
Who said yes? What does this word mean? I always get everybody on that test, so I always put it on a test. Is there a minimum age of 18 to be a massage therapist? No, there isn't, but there is something that you have to have. What is it that you have to have? High school diploma or a GED. I could have skipped a grade in high school and graduated at 16, right? And I could be even younger if I get permission to take the GED. I could be even younger. I can go and get my massage license. So you don't have to be 18, but you do have to be a high school graduate or have a GED. Now, some people are getting around that in some of these private schools. That's another way that they're kind of cheating on it, is they're letting people who haven't graduated come and go. And if anybody ever really looked at their files, they would know that that person didn't graduate. Because you don't pass this on to the state, it's in your file, right, that you accepted that student. And your license with the state as a school, they're supposed to come out and inspect and look at everything. And they're overworked and underpaid. And, you know, go in Margate and tell me you don't see violations out the yin-yang. And how do they get away with it? You know, there's odor standards, air quality standards. That nail tech place, there's no way that could pass. Because you smell that in the street before you even walk in the building. How do they get away with it? And those poor women that work in there, go in there. It's in the very back of the building. There's a few ceiling fans, but there's really no ventilation. I mean, it's a closed room. And they're breathing that fumes all day long, day after day. I would imagine they have cancer if they work there for more than 5 years. He's been here for a long time. He used to have a place over on 441, which was even worse.
Oh my God, I remember that.
Horrible smell, right?
Across from the Taco Bell.
Yeah, and then they had daycare in there too.
It was
So people were dropping their kids off to go to school, and he was getting money from the government because he offered free child care. And they were right next to the nail techs. And there was nobody in there. Somebody would kind of look in on them every now and then, make sure they were still alive. And it was pretty bad. He doesn't do the child care here, but he did have it before. And how did he get away with doing that year after year? Aren't they supposed to inspect them? You know, some kind of standard that they were up to?
Paying somebody off?
Probably. And the massage was, well, here's the nail tech people, here's the hair people, chemical smells, and then here you are over here. And there was no way you could keep it out of the room. You know, and you're lying down and you really don't even want to last. It's okay, I'm done. Just get me out of here. I don't want a full hour. I'm okay. Please stop now.
It's an explosion waiting to happen too.
Yeah, absolutely.
All
And-
those fumes and powder in the air.
Powder in the air,
Like that.
and I know you're supposed to have some kind of ventilation.
Yeah.
I know you are.
They must leave the doors open or something. Yeah, they do.
Yeah, they do. That's why you can smell the crap all over the building. The nail tech, I don't even think they have a door on the nail tech room. I think it's just open. And the hairdressers are, the first room that you walk into, it's really big, but it's completely open to everything else in the building. And there's nothing ventilating that whole building. There's a little ceiling fan maybe, but they're never on. I've been up there, they're never on. And it's just you're taking your life in your hands to go get a $5 haircut when you go up there. And the massage room, the tables are all crammed into this one little room, and you have to go in the bathroom to get undressed and wrap yourself in a sheet and come over and help on the table. Hope nobody sees you. Go, it's an experience. You should have that experience. You take my word for it, right? That's okay, I'll take your word for it. I believe you. Now, there's another one that's kind of just as bad, but it's just a hair place, and it's in the same building where he used to be, and it's all Spanish. I don't think they speak English there, but it's a Spanish beauty school.
The second floor.
The second floor. Just open the door and walk in there. And that's, if you don't faint, you'll want to leave. So, I mean, I really feel sorry for the people that work there. Oh my God, all day long, you're in that room. Now, I did a facial program in Boynton Beach. It's called South Tech Center. It's a little high school thing, like the GED. You could go and do that and learn different things. And they have these little classroom buildings. We have some of them here too. You know, little portables, and they had the nail tech people in there with no ventilation in that little room. And for maybe 10 years, this one lady taught the class, and everybody was real proud of the fact that she never missed a day of work. She was always there. Yeah, and then she gets cancer.
Oh, no.
Yeah, cancer. And, you know, dies of cancer. So they closed it down. Then they wouldn't they didn't have the tech thing anymore in there, nail tech thing. Kind of late for her, right? A little late for her. And you'd think they would be inspected. It's a state school. It's a state school. So you have to be careful around all those chemicals. I worked at a school called Boca Institute. Anybody remember Boca Institute? It was on Federal Highway. You know where the Melting Pot restaurant is?
Yes.
D'Amato, and right next to it in that same big, huge building, that whole little building that was different businesses.
Cabin looking thing.
Next to it, the Boca Institute was that whole thing. It was a huge school. It was upstairs and downstairs. They taught cosmetology, they did facials, they did nail tech, they did massage. But it was a whole different thing there. I mean, it was spaced, you know. The massage was completely away from where the hairdressers were. And we had those ionic air fresheners every 10 feet. So you could be sitting there getting your nails done with the acrylics, and you couldn't smell it. It was on all day purifying the air, but then every night they turned it to where it was an ionizer, and it would totally kill all the odor in that whole room. And it was open. I mean, these weren't closed walls, they were open. But it was kind of isolated here, and you went down over here, and there was the hair, and then you went around to the other side with the wall was where the massage was. But they did it right. So there's a way to do it, you know. You just have to be willing to spend the money to do it that way. Yeah. I wouldn't have. I did the facial thing there, and I would have not really wanted to do it. But you walk in, and you know, if they told you there was nail tech back there, you wouldn't even know it. You couldn't smell it. Really, really clean. And they did something about the sound too. I'm not sure exactly what they did, but you know, hair dryers going all day and people talking, and the music is different in the beauty parlor place. It's very upbeat and loud, and we've got something else playing over here. But they did something about hung this foam or something for sound deafening. So you didn't even have to listen to the sound from one part of the building to another. Really, really good.
Did it close down?
Yeah. Connie Gregg, the lady that owned it, started gambling. She started having a gambling habit. She was making a lot of money, and it kind of went to her head, and she would go to Vegas and come back.
She's horrible. It's hysterical.
Yeah, and lost everything and went way into debt.
She's so polite
And,
about it. She had a gambling situation. She got in Vegas.
She
Come back.
Yeah.
She lost her whole school.
lost the whole thing. A lot of it she kind of hid, and I don't know how she managed to do this, but she managed to talk somebody into buying it from her.
Oh, we're giving her more money.
And she didn't sell it for a whole lot of money, but she made him feel that, you know, you could turn it around. Everybody's interested. We have a high enrollment all the time. You know, you can just hang it, fix this and that, and it'll all come back, and you can make it a success. And he bought it. And then within like 6 months, he realized that everything was broken in there. Every washer, every dryer, every hair dryer, all the cosmetics and everything that she used, every single thing was going to have to be replaced. I mean, he bought nothing but a building, you know. And because of all the trouble she was in, and she was stealing financial aid from the government. She was stealing student loan money. And, and they don't care who you are. When they come to get their money back, you're a new owner, who cares? You owe me $30,000. That student loan is for this school, for that student, and you owe me for that money.
Assumed it.
He assumed the debt. He did. And then because of all the problems they were having, the Department of Education said for you to stay open and to not have this happen again, you're going to have to put some money in reserve. You have to show us that if something happened, you would be able to keep your doors open and operate that school for 3 months. $300,000, put it in this account. The poor guy at this point has already had 3 heart attacks. And he just said, uh-uh. And there were other idiots willing to buy it from him. I mean, there were. But he just said, no, I'm just walking away. I'm just going to walk away. And then we had to place all those students in other schools. You know, it was kind of a nightmare, but that's what happens. That's what happens, yeah. So a lot of rules changed at that point. They make it a lot harder now to have a school. And you have a lot of more safeguards and a lot of more responsibilities and stuff because of people like her and other schools being unscrupulous, you know. And they were really bad about recruiting. I mean, they would promise you the stars and the moon. You come and take my course and you'll be making $50 an hour when you graduate, and you'll have your own spa, and you'll work in a salon, and, you know, Vidal Sassoon will hire you. He's a close personal friend of mine.
Right.
Yeah, and they came and believed her, you know, so. But before she started stealing everything, it was a really great school. It really was. Really big, really laid out. Originally, you know, she did it right. She did it right. But a lot of times that happens when people start being successful, you know. It goes to their head. Yeah. The reason we are not called we're not called masseuses and masseurs anymore, was because several years back there was a guy named Tom Barrett who was really, really big about promoting our profession. He had a radio show. He would go on any kind of talk show. He would go anywhere up to Tallahassee, really put the effort in to really promote us and to elevate us as a health profession. He owned 5 schools. They were called American too, but I don't think American Institute. And he is the one who lobbied to have our name changed. We should not be called masseuses and masseurs. We should be called massage therapists. And we should be on the same par as a therapist, be able to get a prescription from a doctor and treat the person directly. He was the one who really did that. He put all that in. So he starts making bukus of money, and he goes a little crazy. He was an EMT at one point, right? So he still had a police radio, and he still had his uniform, and he started drinking vodka, really heavy drinking vodka, doing coke too probably, I don't know. And he would sit up at night listening to the radio, and he would hear about this horrible wreck, and he would put his uniform on and go show up and start treating people as an EMT. And he would drink vodka in school because he thought nobody could smell it. Don't they always think that?
Yes.
They always think that. They always do. They always do. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't smell that.
Really? I mean,
And unfortunately, he started wanting to have relations with his students
Oh, man.
because they were young and pretty, right? So he puts the hot tub in the back.
Oh, no. He goes for it.
He watched this. He watched Esalen, and he thought he could do it here in Florida. You can get away with that in California. You can't get away with that here. And he decided that, you know, if you're going to be a massage therapist, you need to learn to work on people who are nude in school. And be able to put your hand under the sheet with the person, because that's part of your profession. So he starts having these naked parties, you know, as part of the school thing. And one of the students he started cracking people's necks because he thought he was a chiropractor. He would walk up behind you and just grab your neck and crack it. Grab your neck and crack it. He had issues. And a couple of the women didn't feel comfortable in this kind of environment, right? And one of them was telling her boyfriend about what was going on at the school. And he came up there to confront this guy, this creep, in his classroom. And Tom pulled a gun on him.
God, you have stories.
I've been around a long time. He had a gun in his boot,
You need to write a book.
and he pulled a gun on that poor kid in the classroom. So that was the end of it all. They called the police, they hauled him off, and they found out what he'd been up to all this time, and it hit the papers. So all of the good he did for us, totally destroyed. And for a long time, people said, I'm not going to let you go to school, massage school. I know what happens in those massage schools. Because of that guy. Because of him. So he had his massage license taken away, and he is not allowed to ever touch another human being ever. He can never get it back, ever get it back. He paid a fine. Somebody else bought his school, so all that was taken away from him. And he didn't go to jail.
What?
And he's still here, and he's making more money now than he ever made. He's a travel agent. He does little tours. He takes you to Europe and places like that. Go figure, right?
Outside the country. That's true.
You know who that?
True.
Wow.
That's why he's a travel agent.
He's a travel agent, so
They can do it outside the country.
him and his sister, they have a company. They formed a company, so they do travel agent work. Yeah, and a friend of mine who's a chiropractor who has since retired, he stayed being his doctor through all of this. He sold part of the school to the doctor because Dr. Vidal was doing CEU courses, and he had a little space next to the school, not affiliated with it, but Tom said, please take the school over, please. He didn't really want to, but he did. And through all of his trouble, he still treated him up until, till he retired. So that's how I know what he's doing, because I had, and we're not supposed to talk about clients, right? But you do. When it's a friend, you do. And it was kind of hard not to talk about this guy. It was like it wasn't really confidential because it was in the papers. But
You guys saw the paper?
he kept him as a patient through it all, right up until he was getting rich again as a travel agent. Yeah. So then we had to overcome all of that bad press down here.
When was that?
Let's see. Was that the 70s? I think it was the 70s. It was the 70s.
Wow.
Yeah. The 70s. And then another woman who had started out doing security work and teaching jujitsu, and another one, jujitsu. She and her husband both had black belts, and that was the school they had at first. Then when this guy was getting into so much trouble, they kind of helped him along by getting caught, So they were the ones who went to court and said, he twisted my... They knew a lot about what was going on. But they had an ulterior motive, right? So now their school is kind of taken over because they got rid of his. But you make enemies sometimes, And it wasn't that they were lying because he really was doing it. But they wanted to make sure because he was going to make everybody look bad. They wanted him gone.
Yeah.
And I want him gone too. It could have been done a little quieter than it was, but still. So we had to overcome all that and come back from that to where. And every now and then I still hear somebody say, well, I want to come, but my family won't let me come to school and learn massage because of what they've heard. What's going to happen, in the school. So, that won't happen here because we're not a private school owned by one person who starts thinking they're God to the people in the class. And he got caught with some underage girls too, another part to what he was doing. Yeah. He was just, I don't know if drugs did that to him, made him go crazy like that, or if he was just always like that. Who knows?
Something's not.
Yeah, but he did all the shows and all up to a certain point, and then he wasn't able to do any of that anymore. He never went back to any of that kind of stuff. stayed in his school and, you know, played around with the little girls and that kind of stuff until he was gone. So that's another reason I don't like private schools. They can play with the paperwork. You can buy what they've got to sell. They can take advantage of you financially. And they can pretty much do what they want because there's no one there to regulate them. So I really, you know, I'd like to see most of them close and really have all of this be part of the public school system. It really needs to be. It really needs to be. You know, we even have auto techs. You can learn to be an auto mechanic here. They make good money. Get that 2-year degree, be a certified. So the only thing we don't have is the hairdresser and the nail thing. They might do it here sometime. I'm not really sure, but that's about the only thing we don't have. And we're spreading out. I mean, all these different campuses, you know, this kind of stuff. At Palm Beach State College, it's a separate building. Like here, we're in the same building, but up there, this is a private little building. It's a separate little thing for the massage. And the nail tech and the cosmetology is kind of a separate thing. So that's what it needs to be. Anyway, a little personal history, a little colorful history. So we do have good people, though. We have Tiffany Fields down in Miami.
Oh, she goes crazy.
20-something, hope not, 20-something years plugging away. So if there's anything you want to look up, get the something to support you in what you want to do, she's got it. She's worked with bulimic women. She's done studies with bulimic people. What's the other one? Anorexic women. She started out working with children. It's a building right next to, is it Jackson Memorial Hospital? I think that's what it's called. So her first research was paid for by Johnson & Johnson to work on preemies to see what would benefit a preemie if they got massaged, if that would help. And her report was so good and she was so successful with that Johnson & Johnson just kept, you know, she kept writing grants and they kept giving her money. And she started just studying everything. So if I want to go into a corporation setting and I want to prove to them what's going to happen if I come in and do massages on their employees, I can show them the results of her studies, the benefits there is. Tiffany Fields. Tiffany Fields.
With health research?
Yeah, Touch, TRI, Touch Research Institute. She's really a nice lady. One thing you're going to have to do at the end of the term is write a report on an American massage therapist. And if you want to write on her, call down there. She might even talk to you. Get some personal information. She does a lot of traveling, but, you know. I would take you down there to see where she's at, but there's really not much to see when all you do is research. You know, it's a file cabinet and a desk. Because if they're doing it, they go wherever that study is. They go to the hospital or whatever. It's not done there. But I was really fortunate. I got to go in and work with the preemies. I went in and you could put 2 of them in your pocket and go out with them. They're like this. And you got to go through the side of the thing and massage them and rub them. It's so cute. It's so cute. Yeah, little teeny. And you can tell they like it. Little bodies going like that. But it's amazing what it does, even for a preemie. The benefits of the massage. It's amazing. You know, so if it's going to help them, just think what it's going to do for you. It's going to do a lot for you. So this is kind of setting the parameters of our practice, but it doesn't spell it out. It doesn't spell it out. Where it gets spelled out is in this one. Florida Administrative Code. So how is it administered? They set a regulation, but how is it implemented? How is it carried out? What do they actually do for that rule? And a lot of what we do is similar. So as far as court goes, like when you present evidence, how all that kind of stuff, that's chapter 120 in the Administrative Code. So a lot of things are standard. If I get a speeding ticket, it's called a citation. If I do something wrong under the law, and they catch me, I get a citation. And for most of them, how long do you have before you pay it? 30 days. Most of them, there's a couple that's not that long, but usually. So that speeding ticket, you know, I got to pay it within 30 days and all this other stuff. It's the same with them. So this one will say we're gonna charge you up to $250 for this, or whatever. But then this one is going to say exactly how much money it's going to be. They say you can't let your license lapse. They say you got this much time to get it in, and we're going to charge you this if you break that law. So this spells it out. So you know, you don't really even have to look at that one. It doesn't really tell you a whole lot. The 64B7 is what tells you what's going to happen.
It tells you those $5 fees are going.
Where are they going?
It says all monies collected by the department from fees authorized by this act shall be paid into the medical quality assurance trust fund of the department shall be applied in accordance with provisions of section 4560.
Yeah, which means it doesn't even go just for us. It goes in a big pot. And it's really hard to track the money when it's a really big pot, right? They do that on purpose. So you apply to the state to get your license on a form from the board, but the money that you pay in, the check and all, is going to be to them, to them. Now, for a long time, it was just going into what they called a general fund, and Lord knows what that is.
It says that the legislature may
Yeah.
appropriate any excess monies from this fund to the general revenue fund.
Yeah, so they can step in and take all our money too, right? Because somebody screwed up and they need money to go over here to cover that, and they'll take it. So,
I have a question.
yep.
Will some of this be on the quiz Tuesday?
Hmm?
Oh, it won't be?
What's the quiz Tuesday about?
We don't know.
Medical terminology and
Yeah.
claims.
This is a different class. This is a different subject matter. You know, if it were the same subject matter, we'd be reviewing for that test.
Okay.
But we already reviewed for that test yesterday.
Okay.
So this course, if you look at your thing, you only have one test at the end. It's only 15 hours. You know, we're slogging through 4 tonight. So you only have to do it a couple more times. And it's separate than the other courses. So this term you're doing anatomy, you're doing theory, and this, and this, okay? Next term, you're going to do anatomy, and you're going to do hydrotherapy, okay? And then at the end, you're going to do a clinical practicum where you review for your state board, and you practice on people. And you'll do allied. We'll do trigger point work, deep tissue work, specialty that are therapeutic at the end, you know, once you know how to do a little bit of stuff. So what are you going to study for your Tuesday exam? First, we're going to learn how to find our way around the body. And it kind of overlaps, though, too, right? It overlaps into the theory. You got to do for both, right? You got to do for both. Probably not, I don't know, it's all according to, did Edgar go over the cell? Yes. Did you go into cells?
Yeah.
How about tissues?
Yes.
Organization of the body? Maybe 1 or 2 questions of that, but mainly, right?
In chapter 10.
And what is this and what is that? So,
It'll be pictures or the words?
Mhm.
Pictures or the words?
My quizzes are labeling a diagram, matching these terms, you know. Like if I put flexion as an action and I'd say, match these words to these planes. You'd have what? A is sagittal, B is frontal, C is transverse. And all those words down there, do they match up with the plane? So what would I match flexion and extension with? Sagittal. What would I match internal and external rotation to? Transverse, you're turning, right? You're turning. How about side bending? Going sideways, right? That kind of thing, okay? I very rarely give a fill in the blank kind of question, but I might say, which of these does not belong? And there'll be 4 terms that do and 1 that doesn't, and you circle the one that doesn't. And I have true and false questions, but my true and false questions are hard. I want you to think. They're not easy, right? They're not easy. One of the things you have to learn is how to read a question, not read anything into it, not take something away from it, and just answer what the question is asking you. And if a little bit of it is something you think you're really familiar with, for some reason you don't read the rest of the question. And you answer the first thing that you think it means, right? Don't do that. Don't do that. Read the complete thing and look at every single answer and take this answer and put it into the question. Does this answer fit in that question? And then sometimes it's which one is the more correct answer.
What about the systems? Do we know all our systems?
Did you talk about the systems?
We know what we're doing for the Tuesday. Let's get back to the. That's the last one. We did that.
Probably not. It's not anatomy, it's theory. All right, so the medical terms that apply to movement and all that kind of stuff and the regions, because that's more theory, that's what it'll be on. And then Edgar can think of whenever he wants to do a quiz for the anatomy part. But once you get the general information down, then we're going to be specific with just one system. And start with the skin because that's the most important thing. You touch the skin, right? You touch the skin. Alrighty, so you already know that you have to be licensed to be a therapist, licensed to have a place to work, occupationally licensed to do either one of them. Locally, right? You got to be licensed to do that. If you own a business, you have to have property liability insurance. But as far as the state is concerned, you as an individual therapist do not. It might be a requirement for employment somewhere. You're required to do CPR as part of your training. The state does not require it, but almost every place you work will, so you might as well keep it up. And they'll give you 4 CEUs credit towards your renewal for having it. You're going to renew when? When do you renew?
Every 2 years, odd year.
Odd numbered years. So we're coming up now, 2015. August 31st is when you have to renew. Now this is funny. It used to be at the end of the year, like normally. But one year they forgot to send out the notices to renew your license until somebody noticed that they hadn't done it. So they sent it out then, but they had to give you until August 31st to get your license in. And they've just kept it that way ever since. They never went back to the beginning of the January thing.
That's funny.
Yeah, so little, it used to be yearly, but now it's August, by the 31st. Now, another one of their regulations is you have got to tell them where you live. If I move, I have to tell the DMV, right, that I moved. How long do they give me to tell them my new address? 10 days. How many of us do that?
Never.
Yeah, you don't. But 10 days you're supposed to, or if they catch you, they can fine you. So the board is going to send out a notice to renew your license. And it better have the correct mailing address on it, right, when they send it out. They email almost everything these days. It's kind of easy to send something. But they used to mail it out. So if it didn't get to where you were and it came back to them or whatever, they would know immediately that, But you're supposed to tell them. They're going to ask you to give them where you work. If you work in a bunch of different places, say you're mobile, you give them your home address. Now that doesn't mean you're working out of your home. That just means you're mobile, and that's where you get your mail for your company, your business. But if you work in a couple of different spas, you'll just give them one, the one that maybe you work the most at. You don't have to tell them every single one. And then that's where they're going to come to try to find you, right? And if they come to try to find you and you're not where you said you were, then you get in trouble. Then you get in trouble. Now they've got this thing called CE Broker that when you take your CEU classes, they report all that in there. So if I were a CE provider, I have to go through them and I have to do my sign-in sheet and let them know everybody that took that course and the day they took it and what kind of certificate I gave you, how many hours credit you got for that course. So all of that is registered through the state. So you don't have to send them all of your certificates when you renew your license. They can look in there and see that it's there. Okay? And if you want to check, you forgot it's 2 years, you may don't remember what you did. And if you need some more, you can go on there and see. And if you took a class and it's not in there, then you can find out what happened. That person didn't give you credit for it. Now this is something new too. They used to not do this. But they will still do this. They randomly select 2% of the licensed therapist every 2 years to audit. And it better get to you. I mean, if they send it and you're not there where you said you were, you're in big trouble. And they will audit you. And now you've got to send them your certificates. So don't throw them away. And they can go back 2 licensing cycles. So you took a course 4 years ago, they can say, show me that certificate from 4 years ago. Keep them in something, scan them into your computer or something.
Classes online, right?
Some of them you can, but you get a certificate, you download the certificate, okay? So if you lose it, you need to be able to go back online and print out another copy.
Of the certificate of the class.
Yeah, whenever you take a CEU class, when you graduate you complete the class, they're going to give you a form that says the name of the course you took, who offered the course, how many hours that course was, and they're going to sign it, okay? And that's what the board is going to want to see if they audit you. And if it is something you download, then you still need to have access to wherever it was you downloaded it from, right? So I'd recommend you make a copy, like a Word document or something, and keep it for yourself. Or scan it, just keep a record, because they are going to, 2%, but it might be you. You never know, right? And they come looking for you, they better be able to find you, okay? Because that's their favorite amount of money right now is $250. You're delinquent, $250. You moved and you didn't tell them, $250.
Plus 5.
Plus 5.
Plus 5.
Yeah, plus 5. And sometimes, if it's something that's not really serious, like you forgot to tell them you moved, you didn't renew your license on time, you're like 2 weeks late, they have something they call mitigating and aggravating circumstances. So it could have been something minor, but you did something very irritating or totally wrong, like you aggravated the thing, they're going to throw the book at you. But if it's like if a cop stops you, how do you act? You're real belligerent and start cussing him out, you're getting that ticket. You're getting that ticket. But if you say yes, sir, and no, sir, and you apologize, he'll probably let you go, right?
They still guarantee.
Probably will. Women cry, it always works, cry. They cry. So something that's not so serious, they might just give you a little slap on the wrist and tell you not to do it again. But the next time you do it, $250. It's going to be $250. They don't care. Now, if it's something where you hurt somebody, or you did something about the business, you're claiming something that you're doing and you're not, that's a different story. It's a misdemeanor of the first degree, and others are a misdemeanor of the third degree. They can go up to $10,000 per occurrence. So you got a place and you're trafficking women from South America who can't even speak English, and you got them locked in a room in the back, and and they would probably throw the book at you for that. For that, right? And that has happened. It's happened down here. What I do with the board now is all these problems that they were having, and people that they had a problem with drugs and they've cleaned their act up and they want to keep working. Nurses too. They don't kick nurses out just because they had a habit, do they? They give them a chance, right, to clean up their act, go in rehab, and then they're under that little watch thing for a couple of years, probation kind of thing. And I'm a volunteer with the board, so I might be your parole officer. I'm the one you have to check in with every 6 months or 3. I'll keep track of you, and then if you be nice and do what you're supposed to do, and I go up there and stand up for you, then they'll take it off. They'll take it off. And I feel really good. I did it for this one girl, and I feel so good about it because no one wanted to give her a chance. She'd been in and out of rehab a couple of times, and the last time she was in there, she really wanted to change and, work and provide for herself. She wasn't just... and I kind of stepped out and said, okay, come, take the program, and we'll see, and we'll, keep track of you and see how you do. And she's still doing great, all these years later. Just needed somebody to kind of help her out and give her a chance. She went from living on a playground, that's where she lived, to having her own apartment and having a job, and she's up in Connecticut now, I think. So, yeah. And I don't know what they're doing with the people who are here illegally. I guess they're sending them back. I'm not really sure. But a lot of them can't speak English at all, And they're really intimidated. Those people that are bringing them in have them living in fear. They're afraid to go to the police. They're afraid to leave. So it's really, really sad. But anyway, that's something you could do. You could help them out by doing that. Now, for some reason, and don't ask me why, the board will not let us have a class online. A lot of this crap, we could be online with this crap, right? You could do this online. They won't let me. I'd like to do some of the A&P, online. But no, it says, the board retains the right and authority to audit and or monitor programs given by any provider. 1 classroom hour is defined as no less than 50 uninterrupted minutes of learning. So they set standards for education. And they're like 50 years behind the times. I go up there to board meetings when it comes up, and I'm up there with all these other people, these private school people that really don't want to spend the money with computers, and they'll let us argue back and forth, and then they don't change it. They leave it like it is. And they wouldn't even take transcripts for how many years? Because private schools didn't have transcripts, and I had to do a departmental record because a transcript puts everything into credit hours, not clock hours, Well, it's 30 clock hours for every 1 credit hour. Do the math. And I had to get approved from the board, so I had to do what they said. It comes out to the right number, right? And every 5 years we come up for review. I still have a license as a school, so it's still what you wanted me to do, but just because the transcript said 25 credit hours, multiply that by 30, come on. They wouldn't take it. I had to write out this departmental record, put everything from credits into hourly, and they have the school seal put on there, which they wouldn't give to me. So I had to ship it off to another department and wait for them to get around to seal the thing. And get it notarized. I had to go send it to get it. Yeah. So now finally, because that school was like cheating, and transcripts are good now. Right? Come straight from the transcript office on that official paper. They don't care. They're good to go now, so they'll at least take those now. But they won't let me do this online. I'm sorry that you have to come up here for 750 solid hours of class time. And they won't...
Can't they be like massage hours, like 50 minutes? Right? That's all right.
Technically, all right, because it is a clock hour, technically, you really should clock in and clock out. Technically. But I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. Now, private schools will, because every hour you missed in class, you got to pay them
Of course. That's
to make
why
it
they
up.
will do it.
To make it up, right? If you're out for the anatomy, you can do a couple of things, but we have a learning resource center, Academic Success Center. They changed the name. And I have lots and lots of videos on lots of different subjects, even anatomy. I mean, it's not just theory. And however long that tape is, like a 2-hour tape or an hour tape, you get credit for that. That goes towards any time that you missed, okay? And please go over there and check things out. I got a lot of really great stuff. And if you check things out and you get put in their system with your student ID number, even if it's 10 years from now, you can come back and check out whatever I've got in there on massage. As long as you're in the system as an alumni, you can come back. So check out at least one, okay? But really great. I mean, I got some really great stuff in there. And if there's something you want, tell me and I'll buy it. I'll put it in there for you. We got Lomi, and we got Ayurvedic treatments, and we got baby massage and pregnancy massage. And you name it, it's in there. All right, so the last hour, now that I've bored you to death, we're going to watch this, if that's okay. If that's okay. All right, now just remember, it's California, all right? And what they do in California, we cannot do here. And they want to sell it in sex sell, so they show you a little flesh, and they think it's going to sell the video a little better. But who they're working on is each other. So the person on the table is another therapist. So there's a little closer personal relationship that they do when they're doing the massage. So take what you need and leave the rest. I want you to concentrate on the technique that they're using, the rhythm that they're using, and how they're incorporating the whole thing while they're doing the massage. So the people are nude. They're under a towel. They're not in a closed room. There's maybe 10 tables set up on this patio, a big open space, right? But they're not, I mean, they're being covered by the towel. They are. One or two places, maybe not, but that's only because it's okay out there, right? Not here, but it's okay out there. So that's not what you should be looking at. You should be looking at what they're doing, their technique that they're using. And I like to do it this way too. I like to work on the whole body at one time, and not one arm, cover it back up, another arm, cover it back up. Go all around, because the body is one unit. It's not disconnected, right? It's not disconnected. So if you ever get the money and you can go out to Big Sur, California, I would recommend you go there and get a massage. If I ever get the money, I'm going. Bits and pieces of this is on YouTube. Not the whole thing, but parts of it are. And after I show this, you can check it out over there. Check it out and watch it at home if you want. Okay? I only have one. I guess I should buy a couple more. I should buy a couple more. So out there, like I said, there's no state law thing. It's really crazy wherever you're at. So they basically, where they're at right there, don't really have to do that much, and it's more of an occupational license kind of thing where they're at in Big Sur. But their school is really good. I mean, it's a really good school. They have their own standard, and I think it's maybe 700 hours. You know, the state doesn't say you got to do anything, but they have a really good, thorough thing. New York is probably the best, and they have one of the oldest schools, the Swedish Institute. Although it's still not technically a license like PTA would be. So if somebody moved down here, all those transcripts they got from up there, I could not accept one single one of them because they're not a regionally accredited college. And they probably have a better education than anybody could ever have down here, but I can't take them. So you see how dry reading this is? I mean, sit down and see if you can figure it out.